Wowie. Hello, everyone. It is yet another year. In the year of our Lord, year. Insert year here. Insert thing that streamer does where they say, wow, it's been a good year for games, hasn't it? Ears. Use your ears and listen closely. For today, we do the Gabe Awards. I put in a lot of effort into the show this year. You're gonna see we have a lot of different slides, and I have 109 songs picked out for the playlist this year, which we probably won't even hear half of these. But I picked them just in case if I have a ramble sesh with some of these games. You know, just extra songs to keep going on. But this year was, of course, the year of the Switch coming out, or the Switch 2, rather. So there's first year Switch stuff, and then there's also a lot of other stuff that I played throughout the year. And as my usual tradition is with this show, we're going to talk about games that actually came out in the release relay. But first, we'll talk about Gabe's first, which I wasn't even planning on doing, but then Froze was like, do it! And so now I'm over here doing it! So, we will talk about this stuff, but I also wanted to address for the VOD watchers down the road, if for whatever reason you're playlisting these and you're like, where the fuck is 2024? Last year, I didn't do a Gabe Awards. Instead, my facsimile end-of-year discussion was part of the show that I used to do, Pixel Pulse. It was a podcast that we tried for like 9 months or so and didn't end up working out. But if you're at all curious about my opinions on releases from 2024, that VOD, I believe, is still up on Gaming Outlet. I've never verified this, though. But, yeah. With that said, we're gonna get into Gabe's Firsts of 2025. This category specifically is games that didn't come out this year, but rather, I'm gonna turn this volume down so that way it's not competing with me. It's games that didn't come out this year, but rather games that I first played within the year. So, with a game like Mario Odyssey, for example, which I did stream, that does not qualify for this because I have played Mario Odyssey before. Sonic Adventure is another one that does not qualify. So, games that qualify include stuff that I didn't stream. So this isn't exclusively me yapping about things I've streamed. Many of the things on this list are things that I haven't streamed or I primarily played offline because there was a good 3-month period there where I was mostly just playing games on my own. So, with that in mind, at number 10 for Gabe's Firsts, bear with me, I can't use music from this game because it's super copyright stricken. So, we'll just use F-Zero music instead. Number 10 is Crazy Goddamn Taxi. Now, granted, I don't actually have a metric ton to say about this game because I only streamed it one time. And I didn't really play it a lot off-stream. But I liked it, and I liked it enough to put it in my top 10. Granted, I don't have really any honorable mentions this year because the stuff that I did play that doesn't make the list, I would argue I didn't really like too much. I liked this enough. I wouldn't say I fell in love with it, but it was fun enough. I really like the arcadey aspect of it, and what I really need to do is I need to go back for play session number 2 and really experience this game and try to push for getting a better score, because I feel like I don't quite do the game justice by only sitting, playing it once, and making up my mind on the entire game on that. I think what would help me a lot is actually learning the layout of the map itself, and then also, you know, mastering the controls is another big part, because believe it or not, there's a mission mode in this game that was really challenging and really fun, and I couldn't do some of those harder missions because I'm dog water at it. As you see by this gameplay footage here, I kind of didn't really know what I was doing. This is, I think, closer to the beginning of the stream where this clip in particular comes from. But, you know, the guy gets out of the car, he fucking runs. I like this dude. What was this dude's name again? BD Joe? BD Joe was based. He's got a huge smile. Right. Love BD Joe. Obviously, there's also a mode in here that you can see now where, like, I guess you can play the original I don't know what the difference between, like, the Dreamcast version and what I played here is. Also, I'm gonna switch my YouTube account so that way the music starts from the beginning. There we go. But yeah, I don't know what the differences are between, I guess this might be like more closer to the arcade release, I'm not sure. But they had a original aspect ratio version and a widescreen version. But generally, yeah, the name of the game is navigate the course, don't hit cars, or maybe you do hit cars. I don't even fully remember, but you gotta just get to this place and you gotta go fast, and they have like fucking cool rock music that gets you DMCA striked. I didn't get striked for it, but it did get super heavily claimed, that VOD, so if the VOD is not available in your territory, I apologize. You can blame Sega for licensing real bands in this. But I mean, the soundtrack was good. Just my only real complaint with this game is just the controls are a little unwieldy to get started with, but other than that, it's pretty fun. But we're gonna kind of go through these somewhat rapid fire, I think. So that is Crazy Taxi. Thank you for joining me. Now, on to my number 9. UFO 50. I am surprised that I ended up playing this game. It came to Switch and Switch 2, I believe. And I played mostly offline. I think I streamed this game once just to show my addiction to Party House. And more or less, that's pretty much all I really played out of this game. Party House, and there's like a golf game that I played where it's like a golf RPG. And there was another one where you were a gecko. I remember I played like half of that. But mostly it was, I played Party House with Megan for like a month. Like we'd just get together and just play Party House. And it was fun enough. This is another game where it makes the list, but I don't have like a ton of praises for it. Initially, I placed it a lot higher on the list, and then I had to do a last-minute change, because I'm like, I don't know if I actually feel that strongly about it. But at the end of the day, UFO 50 is very much worth your time and money. It comes with 50 NES-style games. My only complaint is it's NES-style games, so your mileage on that will vary. Obviously, some NES games are more fun than others, and some of them can hold up quite well. But there's some games in there like Barabudo, which is like almost like 2D Zelda-like game. That game sucks like actual dog water. Like, it plays like a goddamn NES game. It's cryptic like an NES game. I'm sure people who grew up with the NES really, really miss that style of game where it's just like super cryptic as shit and it's kind of very unfair. So, I mean, there's that for you if you're missing it and you're just looking for something new. That is a game of that style. It does that very well. Me personally, I'm not in love with most games of that style, but if it wasn't for Party House, I probably wouldn't even consider this game on the list, because Party House is absolutely phenomenal to play. And this is the golf game that I played as well. You have like limited number of shots to make it to a hole, and you're just navigating this 3D open top-down space, it was kind of interesting. This is very Zelda-like, like Zelda 1 almost. It was fun, but I mean, like I said, I guess I don't really have a lot to say about UFO 50 beyond I played 4 of the 50 games, so there's still many more games for me to check out in this. But as things stand, I don't regret my purchase. It was very good. All right. There you go. That's UFO 50. Some of these we're going to rapid fire through because I don't have a ton to say, but once we start getting into the real good shit, then you're going to hear me yap your ear off a bit. Like, for example, this next one. Sorry, I'm manually operating the music as per usual, which I got to down mix and then remix. For number 8, we have Anton Blast. Oh! I didn't end up loving this as much as I loved Pizza Tower, but this was still a very fantastic, fun play. I believe I primarily played this on Switch 2, which did lead to some graphical issues because it wasn't patched for Switch 2 when I played it. Not yet, anyways. I believe someone commented that the final boss's colors, like in the background, were wrong, which is an interesting bug, but alright. Beyond that, Anton Blast is a Wario Land, specifically the Virtual Boy sequel. And then it also does the Wario Land 4 thing at the end of the level where you run to back to the beginning, which is a fun gameplay loop that I am enjoying seeing a lot more indie developers do. I had played games like Mutant Mudds on my 3DS, which is another Wario Land Virtual Boy-like game, and that's pretty fun. I like the foreground-background jumping. DKC Returns also does this, and it's fun. The chaos of this game is immense. There's tons of screen shake. There's absolute insanity. Like, I thought Pizza Tower, playing it, was like an insane video game. This game takes that notch and dials it to like 28. Like, the notch I thought capped at 10. It just keeps going. And I think the notch might be broken at this point, but they kept spinning and they nailed it right at 28. That's right where they decided to land. I don't know. Regardless, music, fantastic. I'm having a hard time remembering a lot of the individual levels when recalling this game. But what I can tell you is that the bosses were all pretty fun. And I really like the Satan character. I don't remember who his voice actor was, but that guy's voice acting was absolutely phenomenal. And this is an indie game, by the way, which is to say they did a great fucking job directing. And it's Gianni Matragrano, whoever that is. I don't know if that's a big name or not, but regardless, Gianni, wonderful job with Satan. I like the way he rolls his R's. It's very good. Yeah, here's the final boss. I guess visual spoilers, look away if you haven't beaten this game, but somewhere in here, you'll see that the colors are gonna be wrong, I guess. Someone told me. He's Gabriel. No, I'm Gabriel. He's Gabriel in Ultra Kill. I don't know what that even is, but okay. Oh yeah, the music. This song right here, this is one of my favorites from the soundtrack. Look at this dude. The sprite work, fantastic. I love the way that the game just kind of plays. I need to do a second playthrough of this one at some point, because I really did enjoy playing through it. You're Gabriel. Hi, Gabriel. You love being Gabriel. Sure. We'll go with that. Trying to think. What else? Oh, there's 2 playable characters. I really like that. It doesn't really change much, but playing as Anton or Annie, I feel like I mostly played this game as Annie, actually. Which, I like the way she goes, "Oh boy!" And just the noises in general in this. This very, This very Ed, and Eddie coded, where I would argue Pizza Tower was very Ren and Stimpy. This is definitely like in the sound effects and like visual style. This is very Ed, and Eddie, or just you know, that same artist style. They did release the End update, which added bosses and levels. To what game? To this? There's an update to this? I wasn't even aware that this game received an update. For whatever reason, I just... Okay. That might be worth going back to it for, then. I didn't even know that that was a thing. But yeah, the bosses are super creative. Music, fantastic. If you're a Wario Land enjoyer, definitely pick this one up. If you're not a Wario Land enjoyer, or maybe you've never played them because you've just played traditional platformers, it's chaotic. It's funny. It really does have a really good sense of humor, and there's a lot of collectibles that I didn't end up getting myself. So if you are the type of person who just likes to do a shit ton of side content in platformers, this has plenty that I never ended up doing. So, thank you for tuning in. I don't know why I say thank you after all of these. It's not as if the stream is ending. I still have much more to go. That right there is Anton Blast. Again, not a ton to say. It has also been like several months since I played this one. And it was also during the time when I was streaming very, like, sporadically. So, like, my play sessions were very, like, separated for this game. So, I think through that, it led to me maybe not remembering so much about it off the top of my head, whatever the phrase is. I don't fucking know, dude. I never know anything, bro. But, yeah, that's Anton Blast. Now, for number 7... on the list. What's your guys' opinion on the word yo? As soon as it starts playing. Yo. Yo. Okami HD. This is an interesting game for me throughout the year. This started on January 1st, or rather January 2nd, I believe, of 2025, and I beat the game a week ago. Which is to say, this was the game of 2025. So, Okami is a very interesting experience for me. I stopped streaming it for a multitude of reasons, and then ended up coming back to it because it won a poll for me to come back, and then I ended up really loving it after I came back. When I initially played it, I was kind of lukewarm to it, if I'm going to be honest, which is maybe why it's so low on the list and not higher. This is very much a 3D Zelda-like game, which scratched a very specific itch that I have been craving for a while, because Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild are very different Zelda games. This plays like something like Twilight Princess, just with a bit more focus on the combat, which I would argue is actually for the best. Zelda combat, not really that important. Twilight Princess is the closest you'll get to really interesting, fun combat. This game has an upgradable system in it, where you pay an old man who flips his skull around, and then you can learn to poop, which is a really good experience. The story in this game is pretty good. I don't have any complaints with the story, except for Issen. Issen is very... he's written as a character of his time. I'll just say that. This came out in the early 2000s. I don't even think it's that big of a deal. Like, I make it a bigger deal than I think it really is. Like, he's not, like... He's not necessarily problematic, it's just that the dude is the type of character who's just like constantly horny, and he's constantly talking about how babes around him are stacked, to quote him. So there's that, but that also, in the final stream, he ends up becoming a bit more because they turn his character around and they really bring back the whole artist thing for him, which is addressed in the beginning of the game, and then they kind of forget about it. This game also has the Celestial Brush, which you hold like R or ZR, or something like that, and then it allows you to draw on the screen, which was like the main draw of the game, you could argue, right? You can draw circles, which does a lot of different things. Usually it creates either the sun or like lily pads on water. You can like direct the flow of water in some instances. There's a lot you can do with the Celestial Brush. And for what it's worth, it plays pretty good with a controller. Most people will tell you to play the Wii version of this game, which at the time of streaming, I didn't own the Wii version, so I just played this through the Switch release. But since then, I actually went to my mom's over Christmas, and I verified. I was like, Mom, I have a vague memory of you telling me you played this game called Okami. Do you know what I'm talking about? And she said, what? I've never heard of that. And then I went into her, she has like a room where she keeps all her DVDs and stuff. And I went in there, and yeah, it was in there. I was like, Mom, do you care if I take this? I kind of want this. And she's like, sure, you can have it. So I have a physical copy of Okami for the Wii now. No, I'm not going to do another playthrough, but just like, that's fun. I like to physically own games. Like, if I really, really, really love a game and I have it digitally, I will go out and double dip to get it physically, if I don't already have it physically. So this is an instance of that. The story of the game is great. I do feel like it is a game that kind of just like keeps going. Like, genuinely speaking, the game feels like it should end at the first fight against Orochi. And guess what? That's only the first third of the game. Granted, what they end up doing in Acts 2 and 3 is fun. I do feel like Act 2 especially drags its feet, but for the most part, I think that this is a very fantastic game, and if you're like me and had never played it before, do yourself a favor. Play through it without a guide. It's not too cryptic. Some games like Majora's Mask, if you play it for the first time in 2025 without a guide, you're gonna struggle because the game is cryptic as shit, especially in some of the later portions. This game, there was like one part that I had to look up, and it's the part with the whirlpool in the sky, if you know what I'm talking about. Because I just really didn't understand what I needed to do there. But beyond that, I didn't need a guide throughout this entire game, and it was just a fun part the whole way through. And so yeah, this is an absolute recommend from me. Apparently it's especially good in New Game Plus, which if I ever did a second playthrough, I would probably try to do that. And that would obviously mean I'd have to play again on the Switch version. Now, the Switch version does have the Joy-Con motion controls. The main reason why people tell you to play the Wii one is because apparently the Celestial Brush is really fluid and fun to control with a Wii remote pointer. I never even tried the Joy-Con motion controls. I was going to, and then just kept forgetting to do it. But this version of the game, from what I played, it ran great. I had no really major complaints at any portion throughout, as far as like the performance of the game or anything like that. As far as my experience is concerned, which is only this version, I gotta say this is probably the best way to play as far as I'm aware. I also really like, having HD graphics. So, Can't wait for Wilds to be Capcom's worst port over, yeah. As far as ports are concerned, this is gonna be probably on the upper end of Capcom ports. And, yeah, it's a must-play in my book. Also, the music is very good. Maybe not the most memorable motifs for me, but it has that Japanese flair to it that I really, really love hearing when it does come up in games like Fire Emblem Fates, which, say what you will about that game. That game's soundtrack is phenomenal. This game's soundtrack, pretty good. I did want to let you listen to this song, because this is the most bangerest banger of the game. Rising Sun, the final boss theme. Absolute divine music. As long as the main motif is memorable, which it is. Yeah. And, also the art style of this game. Obviously, this is a PS2 game initially that's been ported to many things over the years. And when they touch this game up for HD versions, they really just up-res it, and they don't really have to do anything else, because this is an example of, like, the original Wind Waker, where cell shading just holds the test of time. There's no need to, like, redo the visuals every time you want to port this game. It's just that good. There's, like, this, like, shaky visual style that happens every now and then, where, like, when it zooms in on a character, it looks like it's, like, hand-drawn through multiple frames. It's really cool. And then they have these other moments where the camera will, like, cut away to, like, Japanese scrolls, and there's these really cool artworks of Amaterasu and the other characters in the game as well. And I just really like it. And then once you beat the game, you can, like, look at the whole completed scroll. It was so cool. Overall, I gotta say, out of all of the games where you play as a dog, between this and Twilight Princess, I love Twilight Princess. I think this might actually be a better game overall. I mean, Twilight Princess has other strong suits too, so I don't think it's exactly one-to-one. But this is a must-play in my book if you are a 3D Zelda fan. So, thank you once again. That is my number 7. Thank you, Okami, for existing. You deep down, you really do got that dog deep down. And I am very much looking forward to playing the sequel when that comes out in 2030. Maybe I'll play Okami Den between now and then, but I don't know. Is that game as widely regarded? I'm not sure. But maybe I'll check it out. We'll see. Anyways, it's time for our number 8. Excuse me, that's the wrong direction of counting. I saw 7 on the screen, I was like, okay, now we count up. No, wrong direction. Number 6, Hollow Knight. This was my first time playing Hollow Knight. Everyone tells you, wow, Hollow Knight, Hollow Knight. Wow, Hollow Knight. I don't think this is my number 1, but this is a very solid game. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Hard games are not my favorite thing. I can get into them, which I did get into very much so with Hollow Knight. Megan can confirm there were a few instances of, like, some of the dream fights that you would do that I would be playing the game in bed before bed. I would be grinding out some of those bosses for, like, a few minutes. Yeah, the fucking maggots. Fuck that fight. Fuck him in general. This game both pisses me off and is also super rewarding. So I get it. I'm slowly starting to get why people do enjoy hard games. Because when you do be patient with them, take the time to learn them, they can be pretty satisfying to eventually figure out. I need to remind myself real quick. Christopher Larkin is the name of the composer for this game. Absolutely phenomenal soundtrack. Maybe one of the best soundtracks of this particular top 10 of the year for me. I don't really listen to it too often, but it is some of the most well-composed orchestral style music I've personally ever heard. And I love this game's visual style as well. I played this on Switch 1. Well, Switch 2, actually, but it was the Switch 1 version. At the time of playing, the Switch 2 enhanced version wasn't announced. I also played this right around when Silksong first came out. So, like, Hollow Knight was a big thing in general around that time. Obviously, I have not played Silksong yet. All I can tell you is that, Cha! Nagali! Is something that I've been quoting non-stop since finishing this game. Yeah, that one in particular I say a lot. But in general, I think this game is very charming. I really like the map in general. It's a 2D Metroid type game for those who haven't played Metroidvania. And it's just really fun to explore. The environments are very pretty. I rarely found myself lost in this game, which it has a pretty good map for what it's worth. I will say the, like, badge system, or whatever you want to call it, where you are constantly switching out your main abilities. I do wish the map marker one didn't cost you badge points. I don't remember what the unit of UI was called, but the thing that ultimately amounts to, if I wanted to see exactly where I was on the map, I had to then make myself not be able to use one of my special attacks, which kind of sucked a little bit. I do genuinely wish that that was just, like, maybe as an option or something, I don't know, but I do wish that there was a way for that to just be free. But I digress. I will probably play through Silksong in 2026. Whether or not that will be on stream is yet to be decided, because Silksong is going to be a long-ass game. I'm already aware it's kind of like Okami, in that it's broken up into multiple acts. And, like, the full Silksong, from what I understand for most people, is like 70 hours. That's a long game. When I stream a Xenoblade game that's like 100 hours, I really have to, like, set time aside and consider it. Now, also what I've learned with Okami is that maybe taking breaks from games can be advantageous for me. So maybe something I can do is I can play Act 1, and then take, like, a several-month break, come back, play Act 2, take a several-month break, play Act 3. Maybe. We'll see. I guess it also just depends on my mood and, like, what's coming out around that time, right? Crazy music. But overall, yeah, I would say this game is one of those games kind of like Undertale and Deltarune, where it got overhyped and is like one of those things where, like, everyone I hear talk about it, sings its praises, which, to be fair, for an indie game to pull off a visual style so fully realized and a game so well polished as this, it should be commended. This is a very, very well-made game. But it's not everyone's cup of tea. For me, it is a little too hard at times, and from what I hear, Silksong is even harder. So I am a little fearful that I might not actually like Silksong. Maybe I will. I will try it. I own it now, so, because I got it on sale for Switch. So, and another thing to note, it is a game that took me, what, like 40 hours, 50 hours, something like that. And I didn't even play, like, a second playthrough or anything. And it's only 20 bucks. Or, well, the original Hollow Knight is 15. And then Silksong is 20. Which is crazy that these games are being sold at such an affordable price. Especially in the year of our Lord 2025. Pricing is such a huge thing for me. Especially this year. I'm really only able to... I'm fortunate to be in the position that I am to be able to have bought as many games as I did this year, but also I was graciously gifted my Switch 2. Like, I didn't pay for my Switch 2. My grandma bought it for me, which was like, I don't know why she felt necessary to do that, and I'm incredibly grateful to her for doing that for me. Because it's not like I asked her. I was like, Grandma, can you buy this for me? Like, she just like, she kind of knew that I wasn't going to be able to buy it on my own, and so she just bought it for me. So I'm incredibly grateful for her for that. Without that happening, I probably wouldn't have played even half the games I did this year. Well, that's alright. My sister also pitched in half, but initially my grandma was just going to buy it on her own. And then Michaela, my sister, was like, Grandma, let me at least let you not spend all that money on your own. So both of them technically pitched in together, which I am forever grateful for that. And I gotta sing my praises to them, because without that, I wouldn't have been able to afford this shit. But as for Hollow Knight itself, you know, you could wait for a sale like I did for Silksong. I got $5 off. I still think $20 is a very, very reasonable price for a game that'll cost you 70 hours. Like, seriously. Play it if you're interested. I know it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. The game is definitely frustrating, challenging, but it's also a fair type of challenging. I don't feel myself mad at the game like I do playing like Castlevania NES. That's an example of a hard game that I don't like, because it's not hard because it's fair hard. It's hard because the controls are bad and it's just poorly aged. So, yeah. That is my opinion on Hollow Knight. Thank you for tuning in. There's yet more to discuss, though, because now we have to talk to you about my number 5 game, which, alright, I'm going to be honest. This one is a little bit of an ass pull, because I started playing it in December of 2024, but I primarily played it this year, so I'm going to count it. That game, of course, is Balatro. Wait, what did Froze think it was? You thought I was talking about Mario and Luigi Brothership? Hell no. That's not making this list. I think I might have briefly talked about Brothership during the top 5 list I did during Pixel Pulse last year. I rescind that placement of it. Brothership is a good game. Let me just talk about that for a second. Brothership is a good game. It is just terribly paced. The ending is pretty good. Very good ending, actually. But the game is a slog to get through. So I would not put that in this list, personally. But let's talk about Balatro for a second. This was... So, you want to talk about addictions, where I played Hollow Knight a lot off-stream, grinding out bosses? This was genuinely a game I would boot every single day for like 3 months. Like, up until... Actually, longer than that. I would probably boot this up... I was still playing this when Megan and I moved in together in May. Yeah. Like, this lasted me... like 5 or 6 months. I wouldn't say I kept up with the everyday thing with this game for that long. But here's my thing. I'm not the biggest cards guy. So when someone told me that there was a cards roguelike game, I was like, that sounds incredibly boring. And I sometimes bring my Switch with me to work, right? And sometimes some of my coworkers comment on it, and they're like, oh, what you playing? And I show them this, and they're like, oh, that looks lame and boring. And it kind of does, a little, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm addicted to see number go up, which I know is the common phenomenon with this game. But also, for whatever reason, after I started playing this game, I don't know if it's because I was feeding into it, but I got mega algoed on YouTube to be fed, like, strategies for Balatro, and like how to be better at it. And so after I started considering those angles of the game, that's when I really, really got into it. And I liked going across the different, like there's different decks that do different things. Obviously the Jokers have different effects. When you pull a blueprint, a negative blueprint, oh my god, that's the best feeling in the goddamn world. Negative cards, of course, being cards that don't take up one of your limited inventory slots. So, having a blueprint, which essentially copies the effect of another card, be a negative blueprint, it's like, holy shit, now I just have a free extra additional card, and I can choose whichever one of these I want. It's insane, oh shit. Now that said, is it a game I can recommend everyone? I mean, it's simple enough that I would say maybe try it, but you know, it's at the end of the day, if you've seen enough gameplay of it and it doesn't look fun to you, maybe it's not. I don't know. I guess I kind of felt the same way, and then I played it and really got into it, but thankfully, I have been good. I've been a good boy. I've stayed away from the card addiction and haven't had any relapses in about 3 weeks. So I'm good. I'm good. It's been fine. Very rarely do I boot this game up still. Just sometimes I look at my Switch home menu and I'm like, let me do one run, and then I put it on the highest difficulty and then I get mad. So, yeah. Maybe not the best idea. Maybe just play it on the lower difficulties would be a good way to come back to this game, I think. But beyond that, I guess I don't really have a lot more to say about Balatro. You've probably heard ad nauseum about this game, because it was many people's game of the year last year. And in general, it's just a very popular game that I think it's impossible to escape the zeitgeist of Balatro, I think, in a lot of ways. So I don't feel it completely necessary to make. But regardless, I wanted to comment that it would be an injustice if I didn't mention how long I played this game for without bringing it up on the Gabe Awards. So, there you go. That's Balatro. Let's move on to our number 4. We're starting to get to the really, really good shit now. Number 4 from 2025, Gabe's firsts. Well, it's 2 games, actually, but I'm going to combine them for the sake of argument. Deltarune, Chapter 1 and 2. 2 of them?! That's fucking right.
2 of them?
Deltarune, Chapters 1 and 2. I have not played 3 and 4 yet, otherwise this would be a discussion that I would save for the other list that we're doing. We'll get to 3 and 4 relatively soon in 2026, I do believe. In fact, I might even be streaming Chapter 3 within the week, we'll see. But regardless, let's talk about Chapters 1 and 2. I played Undertale on stream last year, which was my first time ever playing Undertale. However, I had seen many playthroughs of Undertale when it first dropped. Deltarune was a bit of a different experience for me. I had watched one person play through Chapter 1 a single time, and then when Chapter 2 came out, I watched nothing on the game, because I was like, you know what? At that point, I kind of had in the back of my mind, I think one day I will stream these games. And the time finally has arrived. So let's talk about it. I played, obviously, Chapter 1 I played in November. Chapter 2 I played in December of this year, which is ironic and fun because of Noel. This is very much an Undertale game, so if you liked or disliked Undertale, you're gonna have a very similar opinion on this game. But I do think that I actually quite prefer Deltarune on a gameplay level. I think the 3-party system is actually really, really good. Not only does it bring a lot more character, because, well, you have 2 other characters following you around, and your main character is still, like, silent and mute throughout the whole game. But Susie and Ralsei both follow you along and have a lot of personality. And in chapter 2 in particular, there's a lot of other side characters that come and go. You got the bird, you got the fucking deer, you got the get the banana, that queen. Yes, queen, slay! Slay that queen. That's what you have to eventually do. And, of course, for me, the biggest thing I was looking forward to was the soundtrack. Toby Fox, of course, you need no introduction to, has written what is arguably... So I called that other game earlier, you know, that Okami one. I said that might have one of the best soundtracks of the year. Or I said that about Hollow Knight, excuse me. This one is actually the real answer to that. This one is one that I actually do pop on regularly and listen to. Obviously, I finally know the context of Big Shot, which was a big meme that I had, like, osmosis known about for many years, but never really understood the context. Now I do. I'm fully aware of that context. And there's a whole, like, second run of the game that I still haven't done, which I'll probably do at some point in the future. But as things stand, you know, just the main routes of chapters 1 and 2, I'm very intrigued, and I'm actually kind of jealous that people have played chapters 3 and 4, and I haven't yet. Like I said, we're getting to it, but I'm very, very much, like, getting antsy now. I'm being like, I gotta know what happens next. I gotta know what happens next. You know? And then I will have to wait for several years after that. I mean, chapter 5 seems like it's gonna come out this year, but beyond that, I'm not really sure. Him being friends with Sakurai and getting to do music for Pokemon, he just fucking won. Yeah, that's crazy, Toby Fox. Like, how do you just become, like, pals with Sakurai? Like, just hang out with him? That's insane-o shit. And he's just like an indie dev, you know? He's just a guy, a dude. I got nothing but praise for this game. Obviously, the sense of humor is on point. I like the splort sounds that are adjacent to Lancer. Lancer in general is a phenomenal character. I love him. I love that I can't pronounce the names of characters whenever I stream these games. I was pronouncing Ralsei's name as Ralessi, just inserting an E that didn't exist. I was pronouncing Rule's card as, like, Roxel's card or some stupid shit. I really gotta learn, just like, hey, maybe look up how to pronounce something if you don't understand instead of just, like, tanking it, you know? Rules is understandable, true, but Ralessi, there's no excuse for that one, you know? Like, I could have done better. I could have done better. Do better next time, you know? That's what they tell me. And I tell them, go fuck yourself. I'm not doing any of that. I will not do better. I don't know if there's really much else to touch on. I guess out of the two soundtracks for chapters 1 and 2, because they are technically different games, because they released at different times, they have slightly not fully, but slightly different mechanics to them. Obviously, the narrative, it's an episodic thing, right? But between the two soundtracks, I think I like Fields of Hopes and Dreams a lot. This song you're hearing right now. I really, really like the Queen boss fight song from the first phase of the fight. And A Cyber's World is pretty good too, but I think out of all of what I've heard, genuinely, I had heard the Big Shot song before, but I never really, like, fully heard it. I think Big Shot is genuinely probably my favorite song in the soundtrack so far. But there you go. I think that's really all I've got to say about Deltarune. If you've played Undertale, you've probably already played this. And if you haven't played this somehow, you know, it is an example of a game that gets overhyped into oblivion. I think it's worth trying games even if, you know, they get, like, an annoying fan base that will constantly berate you. Well, not berate you, but like they'll constantly be like, come on, play it, play it, play it, play it. And you just keep hearing about it. And after a certain point, I get it. It's like, okay, shut up. I get it. It's a good game. That's how I feel about Expedition 33. I don't feel like that's entirely fair to like fully dismiss a game for that. But I do get it. You know, I get where that angle can come from. And this game, it does live up to the hype for me so far. Anyways, we'll see. I'm really, really hoping Toby doesn't like just drop the ball. There's a lot of expectations riding on this entire thing happening the way it is. If like Chapter 7 comes out and it's just like a dog water conclusion, I'm sure some people will have their reasons for being upset with it. But like if it's like a Metroid Prime 4 situation, that's going to be so heartbreaking. But so far, it has been nothing but phenomenal, and I hear nothing but good things about 3 and 4. So I'm very much looking forward to it. So there you go. Let us now move on to our number 3 game of the year.
Well, it's one night.
Nights into Dreams made the top 3 this year, and I only streamed it twice. I streamed it once, and then I came back to the game one additional time. But this is an interesting little Sega arcade-ish game, which never got an actual arcade release somehow. It is a game where you fly around and you collect things in the air. And that's kind of it. You do like tricks in the air. You just go for high scores. You're collecting those balls and you're trying to get as consistent of a link as you can, which is just like doing the collections back to back to back as fast as you can. And just trying to get the best score you can. In order to beat the game, I believe you need C rank or better on all of the levels. So it does require you to eventually get good a little bit. But at the end of the day, it's like 4 hours to do so in my experience. And you could probably do it even better than that if you've played games like this. Which I haven't. And I can't even think of anything that's like this necessarily. But it has a really good soundtrack. I really want them to make another one, which I know there's Journey of Dreams on Wii, which I will stream probably. I don't know if it'll be this upcoming year or not, but at some point I'm sure I will. But regardless of that, I really want them to make another one because this was a really fun game, and if they could make, like... So this game has, like, 8 levels, right? So if they made one with, like, 16 levels and it was arcadey like this... I don't even need it to be like Journey of Dreams, which I know is very story-focused. Just give me a lot of shit, a lot of new levels, and I will enjoy. You can use a GameCube controller with Journey of Dreams. Good to know. I don't want to use motion controls. But yeah, there's 2 characters, essentially. You got Elliot and Claire, I think, is the other one's name. And, the characters themselves aren't memorable too much because you play as them for all of 4 seconds and then you turn into knights. It's such a bizarre thing because you could just like start the level as knights, but instead the way they do it is you walk over the knights, you transform into them, and then if you run out of time while doing your mission, then you turn into the child and you lose all your points and they scatter all around and then you have to run from an alarm clock. The idea of the game is that the children are having, like, lucid dream experience. So they're flying around, they're collecting shit, and then, you know, if you spend too long on it, then the alarm clock tries to wake you up. That's the idea. But at the end of the day, this is a very, very good game. I'm really glad that I played it. I don't remember, did I play this because of Sonic Racing, or was it just because I have it? I think it was because I just have it. But it was a funny little coincidence that it also ended up coming to Sonic. I guess maybe because of both, yeah. Regardless, It was also another thing because there was that Knights pinball level in Sonic Adventure, which I had always known about, that was a reference to another game called Knights, but I never really had played this. And weirdly enough, though, Knight's Journey of Dreams is something we had growing up. My sister has played through, I think, most of Journey of Dreams. I just, for whatever reason, never tried it myself. I think I watched her play it maybe a couple of times, but, I got it sitting on the shelf behind me now, but... Also, there was Christmas DLC, as you see on screen right now. That's when I ended up coming back to the game. Just for whatever reason, they reskinned the first level to be all Christmas themed. Don't know why they did all that. There's also really, really, really good music in this game. I actually listened to the song Dream Dreams, the credits theme, very frequently in my car. Megan is probably sick of every time we go to, like, Bob Evans or something, and then I'm just like, in the night, dream delight. And I'm just listening to that the whole way there, you know? And then there's the a cappella version that came with Christmas Nights, which was also very, very solid. I really like that cover of the song, actually. In general, I really ended up loving this game, and I consider myself a very big Knights fan. I could also see myself just doing another playthrough of this game at some point, just as another one-off. I don't know when, but, like, it's just that fun that, like, looking at the gameplay right now with you, I'm like, man, I kind of want to play again. I want to go for an even higher score, you know? Because, like, I got adequate scores by the end of the first stream of the game. Eventually I was able to kind of consistently get, like, A ranks. It just depends on learning the controls, mostly. Learning the layout of the level itself is also important. But, yeah, I mean, that's why it's arcadey in that nature. This is what I hoped would happen to me, like, this feeling I have is what I hoped I would feel when I played Crazy Taxi. Didn't quite get to that level for me, but I think Nights into Dreams, me enjoying it so much, is a major reason why I'm considering even going back to Crazy Taxi at some point. Plus, there's going to be a new Crazy Taxi, which hopefully is also arcadey in nature. And as things currently stand, there's no announcement of a new Knights game, but I do hope one day Sega will do it. That would be nice. I really want one. But there you go. That's Nights into Dreams. Also, just absolutely phenomenal music across the board. That song, by the way, that we were just listening to is one of the level themes. 9 minutes, 48 seconds. I didn't even really realize this in the game, but with each mare that you go through, the song, like, slightly changes up a little bit. So that's why it's so fucking long. But even still, 9 minutes, 48 seconds for each of the level themes. I mean, not to that exact time code, but around that, insano shit. Great job. Sega always knows how to write really good music as far as I'm concerned. Say what you will about some of the games that they make, you know, obviously we could go ad nauseum about, like, controversial Sega games as far as, like, reception is concerned. But I don't think I have played very many Sega games that have bad soundtracks, and this lives up to that. It is one of my favorites of all time. And that is what I have to say about Knights. Go ahead and play it. I don't know if it's still on Steam or not, but I got it in a Dreamcast bundle where there was a bunch of different Dreamcast games. I got this, I got Sonic Adventure 1, I got some other game that I can't remember off the top of my head. Many others. Crazy Taxi was in there. I don't know if that bundle still exists, but if it does, I would recommend it. Anyways, so for number 2 of the Gabe's First in 2025, how do you guys feel about going fast? F-Zero Climax. this was the first time I played F-Zero Climax because it was released to us here in the West for the very first time. Did I play this right when it dropped, or did I wait a little bit and then get to it? I think I might have waited slightly. Regardless, this is by far the best 2D F-Zero there is. Aside from F-Zero 99, which I think is the best example of a multiplayer F-Zero, this is unequivocally the best 2D F-Zero. I don't really care for the original all that much. And then the other Game Boy Advance one that I played, Maximum Velocity, it's okay. I like it, but I'm not like in love with Maximum Velocity. What I really love about this game is that it actually has the depleting health system that the F-Zero games that I really love have. It also introduced the world to my grand special ability, which is rewind time with Game Boy Advance Online, because I was so bad at it at first. Still am, truthfully, but I really love about F-Zero the push and pull of spending your boost gauge, which is also your HP meter, in order to go fast. And in the higher difficulties, you have to do it. Like, there is no such thing as playing through it without boosting. Like, you will just lose. At the end of the day, though, it is more F-Zero, and I will say the course designs... Of course, you're gonna see me tell you that the 3D environments of GX and X are more interesting to me. That said, these courses are pretty... For what they can do with the GBA, these courses are very dynamic. I also am a big fan of the fact that this has the entire F-Zero X roster as playable characters, as well as some additionals that I believe come from the anime. So that's the other thing that the other 2D F-Zero games are very limited on. In, like, even in Maximum Velocity, you have, like, 6 characters. This game has the full 30. And races consist of 24 racers at once, which is what another thing that I really like about F-Zero. In the modern sense, anyways. I don't feel like it fully works for Mario Kart in the way that I hoped it would. But as for F-Zero itself, I think F-Zero greatly benefits from having more rather than less racers, because it adds to not only the chaos of, like, killing and the combat system, but also it is... I don't know, it just makes it feel more intense having that many more racers. And in Mario Kart's instance, which we will be talking about later, you know, the main issue there is all the items that will come up and, like, just annoy you. F-Zero doesn't have any items. Your performance in the game is directly related to your ability to play. This is a all-skill racing game. You don't really get attacked by the AI, really, ever, which is maybe a complaint that I have with this, and I'm hoping, because F-Zero is seeming to have a bit of a resurgence lately, that we can see a new F-Zero soon, and with the new F-Zero, hopefully, that we can see, well, first of all, the return of who? And second of all, I want to see the AI be more aggressive and, like, actually attack me. Because, for the most part, it's just, you can attack the AI, you can kill them to get a little bit of a boost, it refills your health a little, and then that's kinda it. There's not really a ton of reason to do it. Though the other reason to consider doing it is, and this is another thing that I really love, is, let's say, just no matter what you're doing, you just can't pull into first place. Well, have you tried killing first place? I literally mean killing them. It's not like Mario Kart where you just respawn and come back. I mean that they are out of the race, and now they can't score points for that race. They do come back in the next race, I believe, but still, just the fact of, like, they score nothing will just tank their score to a point where now you don't have to worry about them. So, if you can't beat them, kill them. That's what's great about F-Zero, honestly. But beyond that, soundtrack done by the same guy who did Wario Master of Disguise, so I've got nothing but praise for that. Visuals for GBA, pretty good. This is also an example of a GBA soundtrack not sounding like ass, I gotta say. They really made the GBA sound chip sound good here, which is not something you will often ever see. So, hats off to the sound team, whoever worked on this. I forget the name of the composer off the top of my head, but I do know it's the same guy that did Master of Disguise. And yeah, I really like this game. I think if you are an F-Zero fan and you hate 2D F-Zero, do not sleep on this game. I was going into the game kind of having that impression initially, like in the back of my mind. It really is as good as people say, as far as 2D F-Zero could be concerned. This is, I mean, with the exception of maybe a new game just including new courses, this is as good as it, I think, could ever be. And, yeah, I love it. Play F-Zero. Do it. Alright, so it's time for our number one game of the year. You got any predictions? Well, if you know me well enough and you know what I played this year, maybe this shouldn't be too surprising. But my number one game of 2025 games that I played within the year, didn't come out this year, but played for the first time this year, is, without a fucking doubt, Kirby's Dream Land 3. I do not have any honorable mentions for either category this year, actually. Like I said at the beginning of the stream, if I tried to pull some honorable mentions, truth be told, the things that would qualify, I wouldn't have good things to say about entirely. So, we're just gonna not do honorable mentions this year. There's one maybe slight honorable mention for the other category, but we'll get into that later. So anyways, Kirby's Dream Land 3 is the 5th Kirby game in the Kirby Dream Land series. And I'm not joking. This is a Super Nintendo rendition of the Game Boy Kirby games. It features Rick the hamster, Gooey the goo, Coo the bird, Kine the fish. It has Flick, wait, is that his name? No, Pick the bird, and Choo Choo the enigma, and Nago the cat. I actually quite like this game, believe it or not, placing it at my number one spot. Who could have thought? I have heard some people be a little down on Dreamland 3 because they find discovering what to do is cryptic as shit, because every level has a little friend heart thing for you to collect. And I, in retrospect, can agree with that. It is very cryptic, particularly 1 and 2 is like cryptic as hell. Like, why does tongue flicking with Choo Choo make the Spring Boy happy? I don't know, but it does. But I had chat help me out with playing through the game, and eventually I just kind of, like, that initial clip you were watching was my first time playing through level 1. Eventually you kind of realize, oh shit, you're crushing the flowers, you don't want to do that. Every level has like one particularly interactable thing, and usually in the first level of every world it has something to do with flowers, and then you'll also have a theme where like the 5th level will be like, bring one of the animal buddies to the end of the level, and then that'll be the thing that you do. But once you kind of pick up on the patterns of what you're supposed to be doing, it's not too bad. I was able to figure out most of them with just a little bit of guidance from chat throughout. But even still, this game's art style, This is easily, I think, in my opinion, the best looking Super Nintendo game on an artistic level. Just like, I don't think I've played any other game that does like the colored pencil art style nearly as believable. I'd say even in modern times. I mean, maybe there's a couple, like Omori, I guess, is one that I can think of. I haven't really played that, but like this is just a visually stunning game that holds up so well. The music, of course, is phenomenal, and my favorite part about it is that it's basically Kirby 64's, like, because I played Kirby 64 a lot as a kid, to me it's Kirby 64 2, but really Kirby 64 is Dreamland 3 2, but I digress. Just playing another game that plays so similarly to Kirby 64 just made me happy inside. Because, I'll admit, it is nostalgically fueled on that front. I just really love this one all the way through, and seeing what the different power-ups in combination with the animal buddies does, like, I get now why being like I was always like a Kirby fan that never knew the whole series up until more recently, right? And the Animal Buddies was always something that I heard, like, big Kirby fans be like, come on, we gotta have another game with the Animal Buddies. It's like, I don't know, is that hamster really that important? Yes, that hamster's important, he's fucking Rick! Learn his goddamn name, you piece of shit! Fuck! We love Rick in this house, and he may or may not be one of the best characters in Air Riders. You're right, he's hamster-like, he's not actually a hamster. Sakurai confirmed this in Kirby Air Rider Direct, but I digress. What else can I say? I guess bosses in this game, pretty good. I didn't really find myself frustrated with this game very much. I remember playing Kirby 64 for the first time as a kid, being really bad at it. Now, granted, I think that was also just because I was bad at games because I was a child, but I didn't really struggle too much with this game. And when Kirby games piss me off, they really piss me off. See my Kirby's Adventure original playthrough I did, where I got to Nightmare and damn near rage quitted the game. I need to replay that game, though, because I think I would have a different opinion on that fight if I played it now. Regardless, yeah, I also really like that... I know I kind of already touched on it, but just the way that the different animal buddies in combination with the different abilities also feels like Kirby 64 adjacent, because it reminds me of like the power-up combination, which is something Kirby has tried a few times since and doesn't seem to quite remember how to do. Like, in Star Allies, for example, I remember they marketed the game around the combining of powers, and at least for me, I remember going into the game being like, oh boy, they're gonna do, like, Kirby 64 again? That's awesome! I can't wait to see all the different combinations. And then all it really amounts to is you have the same ability, but now it has an elemental property to it. And it didn't really do much. I did hear that Squeak Squad has that as well, but it's a little more limited. I am very interested to try Squeak Squad now. Also because of Air Riders. Also because of replaying Star Allies and just really liking Daroke. But in general, Squeak Squad has always been one that's on my radar because of that fucking song in Smash Brothers. I'm like, I need to know the context of this. When the bosses are affected by them, they are super affected by them. In Squeak Squad, yeah. As for this game, I don't really know if bosses have, like, weaknesses and stuff like that to different abilities, but there are obviously some abilities that are better than other, and I think that's part of the charm as well. Like, some abilities just kind of suck ass, and I think that's kind of the point, is to make you experiment and be like, ooh, what's this gonna be like? Like, fish plus umbrella? Sure, whatever. Water plus ice in Kirby 64 instance? Of course it's gonna be garbage. That makes sense. You know? I don't really know if I have much else to add on this front. Spark Kind? Yeah, it's what was that, where you just spit out a light bulb? Dreamland 2 is very similar to this game. Dreamland 2 I don't really love nearly as much because I feel like the cryptic shit is far worse in Dreamland 2. There's a moment in Dreamland 2 where you have to, like... I might be recalling this incorrectly, but I'm gonna do a loose job here and say you had to bring Kine to a level to swim through a, like, water thing that was pushing you back, and you can only be fast enough with Kine. And then after that, you have to exit Kine and then inhale a block as Kirby, and then spit it out and go back into Kine before he despawns, and he despawns really fast. Granted, I played on NSO, so I had rewind, so it was far less annoying, but just like, imagine playing that on original hardware. That had to have been infuriating. And I guess that applies to this game too. There were a few moments like that in this. Maybe not that exact scenario, but like, rewind is a helpful feature in general, I think, for going back to some of these older games. Sometimes I feel a little ashamed to use rewind, but also in that same front, it's there. I'm gonna use it sometimes. When I don't want to use it, I don't use it. I try my best to play it as fair as I think, excuse me, is reasonable for the game. But, I'm getting all burpy and shit over here, excuse me. Overall, this is an absolutely phenomenal game that I have to recommend everyone try, especially if you're a Kirby fan and maybe you just recently got into Air Riders. Then yeah, I would say this is the best. Okay, here's the thing. So Superstar is also a Super Nintendo game. I was about to say it's the best Kirby game on Super Nintendo, and I was gonna be cheeky because I thought it was the only one. And then I remember Superstar is there. Do I like it more than Superstar? I don't know. Only on the context of, I haven't played the SNES version of Superstar, I only played the DS version. So I couldn't tell you for sure one way or another. But regardless, I really recommend this game. Please do yourself a favor. Check it out, especially if you're already a Kirby fan and have not played. This is one of the greats. In my opinion, it is as good as Kirby 64. I think I would still place Kirby 64 higher, just purely because I have that nostalgic bias for it. But, like, I think they are equals in my mind as far as good. And, of course, this is also the game that 01 comes from. So if you're always like, why is that motherfucker called 02? Well, it's because of this game is the reason why. So there you have it, everyone. That is the top 20, or not 20, the top 10 games of 2025. We have Crazy Taxi, UFO 50, Anton Blast, Okami HD, Hollow Knight, the original, Balatro, Deltarune Chapter 1 and 2, Nights into Dreams, F-Zero Climax, and Kirby's Dream Land 3. I don't really have any honorable mentions for you right now, as for this category, but I'll just go ahead and list you all the different things that I played this year, so that way you can see everything as far as what I had playlists of. So for new games to me, let's see, is there anything else that qualifies that I didn't include? I'm looking. No, I don't think so. Let me check the one-offs real quick. Yeah, I think I think because of the nature of this being a top 10, you know, I had to include even the lesser stuff for me. But that was my entire discography, we'll call it, of games from this year. Where is my one-offs playlist? I can't find it. I'm certain. There it is. One-off streams. Let's see. We also... WarioWare doesn't count. I've played that before. Let's see. UFO 50 was on there. Yeah, we talked about that. I guess Street Fighter 6, I own that now. That might qualify, I guess you could say. Yeah. I didn't play a lot of Street Fighter 6 this year. I started streaming the story mode, and I really wasn't into it that much, if I'm going to be totally honest with you. I need to just sit there and, like, just play the game, though, and just, like, play it against people who aren't Tony, so I don't feel bad for losing. And just, like, learn the game through that, I guess. We played Dream Course with Megan, but I've streamed that before within this year. And that's the only other Clubhouse games I've streamed a few times. There was a Lethal Company stream. There's 2 Lethal Company streams this year. And that's it. So this year, the top 10 list is pretty much everything that I played that qualifies for this category. But anyways, now it's time to start talking about our top 10 of 2025. Now, this is traditionally probably what you're actually here for. These are the games that came out within the year, many of which I did not play. I will also say, just in advance, I believe it's my number 7 game on this list. There's one particular game that I think is a little bit cheaty that I put onto this list. I don't know if I fully agree with putting it there, but I was running out of time. I needed to make a decision, and so I ended up deciding to put it on the list. But this game, after I play more of it, we'll talk about it when we get there, could theoretically be in a brothership situation. But we'll get to that one when we get to that one. For now, let's start with a game that I also haven't finished. Let's be fair. But I've played a lot, actually, of this game. And I'm almost done with it. This game, of course, in question, hang on, I'm working on the music, is at number 10! SpongeBob SquarePants Titans of the Tide. There are more games that could have qualified for this category, by the way. I do have a small honorable mentions for this. But this game actually ended up making the list, and I first played it about a week or 2 ago, and I'm almost done with it. I'm only putting it at number 10 because I don't think it's anything too special. If you're not a SpongeBob fan, you're not going to like this game. It is a SpongeBob game through and through. But what I will tell you is that this is a game made by the Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated team. And while it's not directly the same type of game as BFBB, where that was like almost like Mario 64 in a way, because you're collecting the golden spatulas, which is very mission structure. This is a very linear game. I don't know quite what to compare it to, but it's a 3D platformer where your objective is to get to the end of the level, and then you move on to the next one, and there's a lot of scenario that happens in between. But it is close to Battle for Bikini Bottom. So far, I would have to tell you that the animation of this game is surprisingly well done for what is really just a silly little SpongeBob license game. It's actually got a lot of charm in the character animations. The game is surprisingly challenging in a non-bullshit way. Like, it's not Hollow Knight levels of difficulty by any means, but I've died a few times, I've lost to the bosses, I've had to retry several of the challenges. Like, this game has some pushback to it, which is not what I was expecting. BFBB does as well, but it's not like a jank level of challenge, which is something I gotta really appreciate. This game feels really, really polished. I don't really think I've ran into any bugs. I'm playing on Switch 2, by the way, for what it's worth. It does have some frame drops here and there. Whether or not that's the game being poorly optimized for the Switch 2, or the Switch 2 being the worst console has ever known, I don't know. You tell me. But I think in a lot of the cutscenes like you're seeing here, just the characters are really well animated. I think SpongeBob characters tend to look really uncanny in 3D models, and they still do. But for what it's worth, it's well done. And I gotta give credit where credit is due. Beyond that, I don't really have anything else to say about the game. You know, if you like Battle for Bikini Bottom, my recommendation is there for the game. If you're not a SpongeBob fan, then yeah, you're probably not going to get much out of this game, if I'm being totally honest with you. But the alternative was the only other game that could have qualified for the list would have been Fast Racing Neo. Fast Fusion was what came out this year. And Fast Fusion is okay. I didn't love that game. And so I have good things to say about SpongeBob. I don't really have a lot of good things to say about Fast. I don't have anything negative to say about it. It's a game. So that's the only other game that would have qualified, I think, for the top 10. The other games that do qualify, technically speaking, I don't like very much. So, like Switch Welcome Tour and Dragon Drive, yeah, I'm just going to spoil those did not make the list. So, what else made the list then, you might be wondering? Well, what's your guys' opinion on Paris? Pokemon Legends ZA, another game that I didn't finish. It's going to be a common theme for this list, I think. Just because I didn't finish a game, though, doesn't mean I didn't like it. I mostly like this game, I'd say. Once again, by the nature of a top 10, I think it's important to note that maybe some of the stuff on the bottom of the list I'm not going to be, like, super in love with. But I will tell you right now, Pokemon Legends ZA is a pretty good game. It is what you would probably come to expect from a Pokemon game. A lot of people love to harp on the graphics, and I rarely see people actually talking about the gameplay elements and what's good and bad about the gameplay. So I'm going to tell you about the gameplay and not really discuss the graphics, really. If you like the way it looks, then you like the way it looks. It looks better on Switch 2, of course, than it does on Switch 1, and just that's really all I have to say about that. But as for the gameplay, it plays like Xenoblade 2, which is a recipe for me really, really loving the game. And on a battle system gameplay level, I kind of do, actually. I think this is maybe the most fun I've ever had with a Pokemon battle system. But that said, where the game kind of falters for me is the story is just kind of like whatever, which is typical for Pokemon. I guess I can't really expect too much, but I feel like Pokemon, the general theme is that these games have a lot of potential to be really, really excellent if they have the proper budget behind them. And the Pokemon Company don't really do that. This is number 7. No, this is number 9. The Pokemon Company really do need to just, like, spend more time on their games. Like, I get they really want to do the yearly release thing. I don't think Pokemon needs to be that anymore. This game, like, we went, like, 1 year. Last year, there was no new Pokemon game, and it was great. It meant that they spent more time on this game. I still think that they should have spent even more time. I think if they start going 2 years instead of every 1 year, that's still not much better. They need to give it like 3 years between releases, and I genuinely mean that. But that said, this is technically a spin-off game, so okay, what else does it do other than the combat? Like I said, combat, really, really, really good. Maybe my favorite of the whole series. The wild zones in catching Pokemon are very similar to that of Pokemon Legends Arceus, which, if you may recall from that year, Legends Arceus is probably my favorite Pokemon game end statement. I still feel that way. This game does not overtake it. I've not played the DLC. I've heard some people really love the DLC. Some people really hate the DLC. It's a Pokemon game. That's what they do. Some people love it, some people hate it. I think announcing the DLC before the game came out was really scummy. That's why I chose to not really get it and even try it. Maybe one day I will come back to this game and pull an Okami where I resume streaming where I last left off. I had mentioned that I had considered playing the game offline on my own. I never ended up really doing that. So, for now, I'm gonna leave it to the similar thing that I did with Okami and leave it in my back pocket. And if I feel the urge, I'll come back to it. Maybe I'll finish it. I was pretty close to finishing it. As far as I'm aware, the game ends around A rank. And I was, I believe, B rank when I ended streaming. So, the Mega Evolutions are really cool in the DLC. I have heard that a lot, actually. And that would be the one reason why I'd be interested in it. But the gameplay itself, I hear, is kind of like lame. But again, it's also like a $20 or $30 DLC on top of a game that costs most people $70 for the Switch 2 version. I don't think this is a $100 game. Like, if you want the full experience of the game, I don't think it's worth your money at that price. It's a roguelike? That I did not know. I guess I know very little about it, but all I know is that some people aren't in love with it. As you can see, though, it still has some of the traditional things for unlocking some Pokemon. So, with that one Pokemon, you have to flip it upside down in order to get it to unlock the evolution. That's the word I can use, unlock. Music in this game is okay. Look at that. That was Steve. Did you like that? Looking at that, Steve? Look at the thumbs up. Wow. I think the Switch was having a hard time registering that it was upside down. Yeah, actually, I'm not really in love with most of the music of this game. I'd say the Lumio City stuff is really good. And I like the saxophone stuff done by, what's the name of it? Insane in the Rain music. I think the Lumio City theme, pretty good. But the battle music, I'm not really in love with most of it. Ironically, I've only pulled the battle music for my playlist here. Just because I kind of wanted to remind myself what it even sounded like. Beyond that, the majority, in fact, the entire game takes place in one city, being that of Lumio City. I've heard some people complain that the game doesn't have enough visual variety because it exists only in one city. I can both confirm and deny that this exists. On the first note, yes, it is all just one big city. It is all just buildings and alleyways and an occasional park. As the game progresses, more wild zones will appear throughout the city, and when that happens, then sometimes the biome will change. Like, there was an area that was like a big enclosed park that eventually turns into a wild zone, and then when it does, the whole area gets coated in snow. It's really jarring and weird. But it's... I have to note that it does eventually happen that way. But the catching mechanics are identical to that of Arceus, so I enjoy that. My major complaint comes from the wild zones aren't fun to explore, at least as far as I've gotten in the game. In Arceus, I actually did have a pretty fun time exploring the map. There would often be little crevices and small hidden areas that would have like a very specific Pokemon. And this game does that as well to a certain extent, but considering it's all just a big city, there's only so much that they can do with it. And, you know, the variety of like going into the sewers those occasional times is neat. I was hoping for something similar or adjacent to like the Paris catacombs, and that wasn't really in the game. The game is like 95% taking place just in the streets of Lumios. Sometimes you go inside of a building, but really it's just the streets. The only other thing to note is it expands pretty heavily on X and Y. And I don't remember anything from X and Y, so there's a lot of plot details in this game that I think is like trying to elaborate on things that happened in that game, like Oz and Lysandre, or however the fuck you pronounce his name. And I didn't really get that stuff, like I didn't understand it because I don't remember any of that, and I don't even think I met Oz as far as I got in X and Y. I only got up to Lumio City itself when I played, way back in the day. Wish it was the whole region because Zygarde literally has a den it can hide in. Yeah, that would have been cool to explore. I mean, there's also certain characters here that make reappearances, like Emma, I believe, is from X and Y. There is obviously Lysandre. Oz comes back. I think in the DLC, one of the characters that follows you around is... Was that a gym leader, or was that one of your friends from your little friend group? I don't remember who that was, but Karina was the fighting type gym leader. Okay, yeah, she comes back and has some kind of role in the DLC. I'm not really sure what, because again, I didn't play it at all, but... She's the person who gives you your first Mega Evo? Okay. I don't really remember. But also, I've only played X and Y one time, and I only played half of it. Also, there's the Rust Syndicate. Everything involving the Rust Syndicate, thumbs up from me. Everything involving Canary, thumbs down from me. Especially Naveen. Naveen was such a cool character at first. I really liked how he was introduced and the whole, like, logo designing fashion thing. I thought he was really cool. And then it turns out he's like... he's like a streamer, like, super fan of the character Canary, which, you know, is also, like, they've done the streamer thing already. Okay, fine, whatever. Naveen becomes very unlikable for me as someone who does the streaming thing, because he, like, obsesses over Canary and, like, knows, like, everything about her, and it comes across to me as something really creepy. Now, on one note, the way that they're trying to make him sound is they're trying to make him sound like he's just, like, really, really, really into this one specific thing, and it happens to be this person's streams. But it ends up, to me, coming off... And this isn't necessarily an example of poor writing, it's just, like, personal taste here. It comes off as just, like, weird. I don't like the way he, like, knows every little detail about her life. So let's just hope that... Yeah, the parasocial thing, that's what I don't like about it. It's not poorly written. Let me clarify that it's not, like, an example of, like, this is bad writing, or, like, the Pokemon team really didn't know what they were doing. I think they wrote him exactly as intended. And I just don't like the character on, like, an opinion level, you know? This isn't, like, a critique thing. It's an opinion thing that I'm noting here. But as for actual critique of the game, I really like that missed Pokeballs are not lost forever. I do like the fashion in this game. This game has some nice fashion. And the online battling sucks ass. I hate this game's online. I love this game's combat for single player. For online, it's annoying as hell. People will steal kills. Like, if it was one-on-one, I think it would be different. But the 4v4 thing, I hate it. 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 Because the way it ends up happening is you'll be targeting down someone, and then someone will come in and swoop in and steal your kill, and then they'll run from you, so you can't attack them back. And then they'll just spend the rest of the arena running, and then if you spend too much time chasing them down rather than just trying to get more points yourself, then they come in and swoop your next kill, and it's just an endless cycle. It's annoying. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Not even slightly. And then, in order to get some of the Mega Evos in the game, you have to play the game online. And I ended up grinding it out a little bit to get some of the Mega Evo stones, but ultimately I was like, I'm not enjoying this. I don't want to do this anymore. So I didn't. I don't do it anymore. And that's that. That's all I have to say about Pokemon Legends ZA. At the end of the day, I think it is a good game, and I would be interested to finish it. I don't know if that's a priority necessarily for me, but at the end of the day, I would say I see a lot of mixed opinions on the game. I don't know if this is necessarily a recommendation that I would give for a lot of people, but it is a game that I ended up enjoying on the most part. Like, for the most part. There's not really a ton that I hate about the game, just some minor nitpicks here and there, and it's also just, to me, it's kind of just another Legends game, and so if you like the Legends games, you'll like it. If you don't like Pokemon, this is, more Pokemon. So there are some games where it's like, even if you don't like it, I would still try to recommend you this game. This is not one of those. But for what it's worth, it was fine. This is a fine game. Next up, we're moving up to games that are no longer quantifiable as fine, and now we're moving into games that I would say are very good. What is the next game? What is my number 8, you might ask? Well, what's your opinion on bopping it? Number 8 is Bits and Bops. I played the entirety of this game last week. There are some last-minute changes to this list that were happening, by the way. And I'm including this one because it is a Rhythm Heaven successor that feels like a Rhythm Heaven game. If you could have fooled me into thinking that this just was another Rhythm Heaven game, it does everything it sets out to be and does it extraordinarily well. My only complaints with Bits and Bops comes from lack of content, which is actually being addressed. They are adding more to the game over time. There's going to be a custom remix editor, I believe, that's getting added in future updates. So we will see more of Bits and Bops in the future on this stream. But as for playing through the base game itself, it is phenomenal through and through. I would put this on the same tier for me as, like, Rhythm Heaven Fever. I don't know if it's quite, like, the best Rhythm Heaven game I've ever played. I will say a lot of the minigames are also very, very similar to specifically Rhythm Heaven games, and it's like, well, what can you exactly do about it? But many of them are just like, okay, this is just literally Lockstep, or this is just literally XYZ game, or whatever you can think of. There are just a few of them that are just like identical, just with a different skin, of course. But that said, really good music, really fun mini games, and I just like me some rhythm games here and there. I guess I don't really have a ton to say about it beyond that. Music, yeah, music good. Visuals, let's talk about visuals. Rhythm Heaven is mostly known to me as having very, very simple visuals. And I would say that this game actually looks better than any other Rhythm Heaven game I've played. Specifically from, like, the Rhythm Heaven games. Now, granted, Groove will be the first time Rhythm Heaven is actually in HD. So we'll see if that opinion changes any. But, I mean, visually, I guess it's very similar to that of Megamix. But, just like on a fidelity level, of course, this is the highest quality Rhythm Heaven adjacent game that you can play. And it's, it's not like visually stunning necessarily, but it's really well done 2D animation. It's really well synced to your movements. Overall, 10 out of 10. Best game on the list, actually. This is number 1. Actually, I lied. This, let me just change the numbers here. And then, okay, hang on. Let me just... There we go. Now, number 1. Yay. There we go. Wow, look at that. Ain't that something? I guess, yeah, beyond that, I don't really have much else to say about Bits and Bops. This is a very big recommendation for me. It's just a couple hours long. It's pretty cheap on Steam. It will eventually come to Switch 2, I do believe, and Switch 1 as well, I believe. But do pick this one up if you consider yourself a Rhythm Heaven fan. It's fun. The only other thing, I do have one complaint, actually. One complaint, which is weird, because I don't actually usually have this complaint. I usually have the opposite complaint when it comes to Rhythm Heaven. But this game is a little too easy to beat. Like, I had a lot of instances of fucking shit up where it would still give me, like, not the perfect score, but it would give me, like, an excellent, essentially. And I feel like it's a little too generous with giving those out. It needs to fail you just a little bit more frequently. And, like, even with getting the just okay result, it still lets you pass and go to the next game. So, it's like one or the other here in this case. If you're gonna let me pass with the just okay, then you need to make the amazing be something that comes a little more stricter, I think, in my opinion. But that said, at the end of the day, the game is... You know, it's up to you how much you want to play it. You can go for the perfects. I didn't really end up going for any perfects when I played. There's one that I just kind of naturally got. But beyond that, the challenge of the game will come from getting the perfects. And, you know, that just comes in learning the minigames themselves. And I'm sure it's not too difficult to do that either. But hopefully it's fun for those who like going for that. I'm personally... Yeah, I'm good on that front. Perfect is not something I ever strive for in any of these Rhythm Heaven or Rhythm Heaven adjacent games. So, there you go. That's Bits and Bops. I guess I had a little bit more to say about it than I thought I would, but that's pretty much all I gotta say. Now, for number 7. This is the game that I aforementioned would be kind of a little bit of a cheat to include on the list. The alternative would be to put this Bits and Bops at number 7 rather, and to put SpongeBob at 9, and then Fast at number 10. But because I don't really think I had a lot of like super positive things to say about Fast Racing, I decided to go this route and just go on purely my first impressions of the game, which has been of over one single stream. So please note that this is very subjective and could change. But that said, my number 7 game is, of course, Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Wait, no? Oh, okay. Metroid Prime 4. Okay. Well, Metroid Prime 4 is the hot topic game of the year, I think, in that I'm seeing a lot of really, really negative things on this game. And again, I'm only 3.5 hours into it, so there is still absolutely room for this game to drop the ball. I'm aware of the green crystal thing late game being pretty lame for people, but beyond that, people were telling me that Miles McKenzie was the most annoying character. Bro, I barely even registered he was talking half the time. Focus him. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they do anything like that in this game. But, I mean, people said that he talks like a Marvel. I mean, the best that he does is he does this. He goes... Maybe didn't hear it. Hang on. He goes like this. That's the worst it gets for Miles McKenzie, as he says the word win. Realistically, I don't really think he's that bad. I do know he will talk to me throughout the rest of the game, so I am going to be extremely cautious to see if he's got any cringy lines or anything like that. But here's my thing. The people who I've seen have complaints about this see Metroid as some ultra serious, like super, like scary horror game. I don't think we've played the same franchise, because I've never seen any Metroid game except maybe Dread as like horror adjacent. Think people would have been fine if it was just him? Well, I do know there are other characters, and from what I understand, the other characters aren't quite written like Marvel's. For me, I actually am very interested in what it can mean to expand Metroid's lore and the world of Metroid. I know that's a very unpopular take, but I think Metroid has a pretty interesting environment that I wanna learn more about. I like going for the scans. Adam, for all intents and purposes, would fall under the same thing as Miles. Yeah, from what I understand, Adam and Miles are pretty similar in that they just kind of, they give you exposition here and there. They give you Expedition 33s. But from what I've seen, again, it's very early on, and I'm not here to tell you that any criticisms that people do have on the game is wrong or invalid, and I could be very wrong in placing this on the list at all. Like I said, there's still the absolute possibility of this being a brothership for me, where I really like it early on, and then it just kind of starts dropping the ball, it starts to drag ass. I don't know. I don't know much yet about the bike yet, so I'll experience that soon and see how I feel about that. But on a first impression level, purely, and like, I saw the Arlo video of him having a meltdown over Miles McKenzie. It really, I don't know how much of that was him just doing it for the bit, and how much of that was like actually like his reaction. But at least in my personal opinion, Miles has not been even like 20% of quantifying that. Oh, the amiibo? Yeah, so for the amiibo bike thing, I think the amiibo implementation in this game is very strange. For the Samus amiibo, you can get the cutscene for 100%ing the game without needing to 100% it. To me, that's good amiibo implementation. For the Metroid on, Samus on the bike, Metroid crawling herself on the bike, you get music while you're on the bike, where ordinarily when you're on the bike, from what I understand, it is just purely quiet. There was some misinformation going around that playing through the game, eventually that unlocks on its own. I believe that was told to be misinformation though, because if you scan the amiibo early, you get some music in the game when you first get the bike, and then later on in the game, you get more music. And I think people were interpreting that as like, oh, later on, this is when they unlock the music for the bike. I don't believe that that is true, but also I don't know. I haven't gotten to that. I haven't gotten far enough yet in that I've driven the bike outside of the Volt Forge. So I don't really know it yet all too well. What I will also say is, since streaming the game, I have experienced a little bit more, in that I had my buddies Austin and Melvin over at my place. We did some Christmas stuff at my place over the last weekend, and we mostly just played Kirby Air Riders, but at the end, Austin really wanted to try playing mouse mode in this game, so I set him up with a TV tray on my couch, and we tried it. Austin and Melvin are much bigger FPS fans than I do. Like, Austin regularly plays Valorant, and, you know, Melvin plays a lot of different first-person and third-person shooters. So their opinions on, like, the way a thing controls is much more notable than what I feel, I think, because they have far more experience. So I watched them go through the intro of the game, and in general, they both said that the mouse controls are good. Austin came away saying he thinks he would probably prefer to play this game with a controller. Melvin, on the other hand, said, actually, I really, really like this game's mouse controls. So, Austin's take was, since it's not an optical sensor that functions on the side of the mouse, instead it's a camera that's constantly taking low resolution images, it's kind of like jumpy for him. There are settings that you can adjust to make it a little less jumpy. And it's also possible that because he was playing on like a TV tray instead of a mouse pad, that had something to do with it. But regardless, it should be stated that in my personal opinion, I have really enjoyed playing this game as in mouse control mode. And I know this game has been shoehorned in a lot of like PAX presentations to be like the selling point for mouse controls. This game has just as much control options, I believe, as the original Metroid Prime Remastered. So you can play it in whatever way you prefer, really. And mouse control is just another option for it, realistically. And it still controls very well with a controller, so there's no need to worry about that. For me, mouse controls is probably going to be the major way I play. I do play at a computer desk. I don't know if this would be nearly as fun on a couch. Like, if I didn't have a TV tray, I think it would be really uncomfortable. But who's to say? Not me, because I don't know. But that is my first impressions with Metroid Prime. I would like to once again reiterate that I am very early in this game, and there's still room for it to absolutely drop the ball. But as things currently stand, I'm not all that negative on it. I actually quite like it. It's not going to amount to be my favorite Metroid Prime game. I can already tell you that. But I think it's going to be as good as Metroid Prime 3 for me. And I quite like Metroid Prime 3. And I know some people really are down on Metroid Prime 3, so I think that kind of adds up, actually. So, there you go. That's my opinion on the Prime game. Also, hopefully there's more than just the viola suit. I don't think there is, but I'm hoping going into the game. We will see. Anyways, so it's time for the first game that I can definitively place on this list that's like, okay, I've played this game a ton. I really have a strong opinion and like formed opinion on this game. It's time we talk about our first racing game of the year. There were many of these, including the fast one that isn't making the list. But let's talk about Mario Kart 8! Just kidding, it's Mario Kart World. Okay, so Mario Kart World. I thought it would be funny to start with the Mario Kart 8 version of the song that's in Mario Kart World. It sounds just like the original, though. It doesn't sound any different. But okay, so Mario Kart World is something that we talk about a lot on this stream. So I'm not gonna go super in depth on it here, because I don't want to be too repetitive necessarily. But what I will tell you, because some people may watch this VOD or something down the road that hasn't seen all my other streams, is that I am more positive than I think most people are on this game. But I still think the other racing games that came out this year are better than it. I see no world where Mario Kart World is the best of the three, for me personally. I know there are some people who will defend it to the end of time, and that's fine, but what I will tell you is this game is really fun when you first play it, at least for me it was. I really looked forward to this game before playing it, and on first impression, it had a lot going for it. Then you play it some more, and you realize that a lot of the intermission courses are mostly straight lines and very samey, and it doesn't really go much further beyond that. The new items are just kind of like, okay, like there's the golden shell, which is just kind of like, okay, it puts coins down. The question mark block is just another coin item as well, where you spam it to get a bunch of coins, and then it litters the area around you to gain coins, which is, I guess, helpful in stuff like knockout tours. And then there's Kamek, which on 1.0 was the most infuriating addition to the game. Since then, there have been several updates to Mario Kart World, and I think the game is slowly improving. I don't think that because the game is improving, that suddenly we need to start being, like, kissing the game's feet or anything like that. Like, the game is still absolutely the same game at the end of the day. They are changing some of the intermission courses to make them more interesting, which I am very appreciative of. But the overwhelming majority of them are still very nothing burger courses and straight lines. 24 racers sounded interesting on paper because it reminded me of F-Zero, but ultimately what it ends up being is Mario Kart always has this problem of when you're not in the lead, the rest of the pack is extremely furious and chaotic. When you're in the lead, you really don't experience it, and there needs to be more shit happening to first place. But instead, they just keep adding items that purely affect the middling of the crowd. And I think that is the biggest shame of it all. I think the roster of this game, some people, like my friend Caleb, hate this game's roster. Like, absolutely despise the fact that they added, quote, nobody characters like a Cataquack. I think it's fun, personally speaking. I think that the addition of the Bowser minion characters is fun because it just fills the roster with more. Yeah, really. I do think cutting some of the legacy characters is always going to be lame, though. Especially when you compare it to what eventually became 8 Deluxe's roster post-Booster Course Pass. 8 was kind of always, like, the poster child for a really bad Mario Kart roster in the base roster. Then it became better with the first realm of DLC on the Wii U. Then the deluxe version on Switch added a few more characters, and then started to become, it was like, okay, this is okay. You still have a lot of, like, Koopalings in there that kind of takes up the roster, and then you got some weird choices like Tanuki, Mario, and Cat Peach, and Pink Gold Peach, but, like, the Pink Gold Peach discourse was so strong on the Wii U, and then, like, it kind of faded into nothing, because, well, I think, one, the conversation got stale, but also, like, the roster got filled out with PD Piranha, it got filled out with Kamek, it got filled out with a lot more interesting characters. And ultimately, I think that it became pretty fun, actually, by the end of it. The fuck was that? Music just glitched out. That was weird. On that note, this game has, in my personal opinion, of the 3 racers of this year, this game has the superior soundtrack. On pure numbers alone. No. The soundtrack is very samey. I think once you've heard, like, 3 of the songs, you're gonna know what most of the soundtrack sounds like. I think having official remixes of songs like Dire Dire Docks from Mario 64, the one you're hearing now, this is a song that I never would have expected to appear in a Mario Kart game. And it's great. The free roam soundtrack is wonderful. I do have complaints with the way you can actually listen to the music in-game, and I also have complaints with the fact that you still can't listen to this game's music on their dedicated music app, because I think, at least as far as, like, first-party Nintendo, this is their best soundtrack of the year, maybe sans Bonanza. And, you know, having all of this, like, literally, like, there's an upload on YouTube with 10 hours of this game's soundtrack, and it still doesn't even have the entirety of it. They claim that they do, but then I'm like, no, I've definitely heard some songs in-game that aren't on that list. I still haven't even heard all of this game's music, as crazy as it is, and I listen to this game's soundtrack pretty frequently. It's really good driving music, actually. I think it's appropriate for that. Air Riders is so good. We'll talk about Air Riders soundtrack. I think maybe Air Riders has more variety in the soundtrack, as far as, like, each song is distinct. But, I mean, there's so much music from things like courses and, like, levels in this game that aren't actually part of this game. Like, this is a cover of Rainbow Road from Super Circuit. Every Rainbow Road from across the series has a remix in this game, despite there's only one Rainbow Road in this game, which is, on that note, an okay Rainbow Road. When I first played it, I even titled the stream VOD when I played it, "This might be the best Rainbow Road yet." And on first impression, I really do feel that way. I think that Rainbow Road has the best spectacle, best visuals, and as far as, like, being a Rainbow Road, it is the best example of what Mario Kart World is. It's a lot of straightaways and a lot of, like, long laps. That said, is it the best Rainbow Road out of all of them? Sevens is pretty solid, I do have to admit. And I'm also pretty partial to Double Dash's Rainbow Road on a nostalgic level, and I do like Mario Kart Wii's a lot as well. I just think visually that Worlds is pretty fantastic. Worlds Bowser Castle, on the other hand, also left a really high first impression. And then as I play it more, I'm like, I actually kind of don't like Worlds Bowser Castle all that much. I think it's kind of lame. The castle itself, you're in it for like 4 seconds, and then you're flying around in the sky around it a lot, which is fun, and it's cool. Again, it's another spectacle, and I think that's the theme of the game, really. Mario Kart World is a game about spectacle. It's a game about when you first play it, you're gonna have a really high first impression, and beyond that, it's just another Mario Kart game that has some frustrating and disappointing elements to it. One note I will say that this game does entirely unique that no other Mario Kart does is the Knockout Tour mode, which you're seeing footage of and have been for some time now. Knockout Tour is Mario Kart World at its best, and is where I mostly would recommend playing the game at. The problem with Mario Kart World's Knockout Tour is that there are 8 knockout tours and no way to do custom knockout tours. This needs to be addressed for it to be a evergreen mode, in my opinion. I think that Knockout Tour is something similar to that of F-Zero 99, but even more balls to the walls, because in F-Zero 99, you're not gonna see, at least personally speaking, I don't find myself getting knocked out in the early Grand Prix all that often. In Knockout Tour, there are often times when I'm among the first to be eliminated. Granted, that is because the difference there is 99 and 24. But also, just in general, I feel like Mario Kart World really is chaos incarnate, and it really lends itself well to the Knockout Tour mode. I think it is a fantastic addition to Mario Kart, and I would hope if and when Mario Kart 10 comes out, that Knockout Tour makes a comeback. Another thing that this game is severely lacking, in my personal opinion, is 200cc. I think that would add a lot to making especially the intermission courses more interesting, because you can get them over and done with, and 200cc lends itself well to straightaways, of course, which is what that does a lot of. So, beyond that, I guess I don't really have a lot more to say. I will say I am frustrated with the character select screen. I mentioned the characters themselves are cool. Costumes need to be stacked, or at least made into like folders, maybe, where it's like, okay, if you want all the Mario things to be displayed at once, open the Mario menu. But like, sorting doesn't help with the roster. And it's weird to me that like there's even a sort option to begin with, because the default is like actually completely unorganized. It makes no fucking sense. So I'm thankful that the sort option is there, but like, why isn't the sort the default? Like, genuinely, it's so frustrating to look at the regular character select screen without having sorted it. It is beyond frustrating. But I am optimistic that Mario Kart World will receive updates over time. Sonic Frontiers, what the fuck? No. Sonic Rise Across Worlds is also getting updates over time. And I will be very curious how the two of them continue to exist and get updated over time. We will be talking about Frontiers and Air Riders later on in this list. Just a heads up. But I, as things currently stand, think this is the weakest of the three. But overall, as I've said a few times on stream, Mario Kart is the game I go to when playing a racing game casually with friends. So that's really the thing it comes down to, is if I'm gonna have my dad over, I'm gonna play Mario Kart. If I'm gonna have Melvin and Austin over, well, I'm probably gonna play Kirby, but truthfully, I think the better game for us to play online would be Sonic. So that's that. I know I have a lot of things that I say over and over again on this game. Hopefully this will be the last time I talk about Mario Kart World, because quite honestly, the discussion does get a little tiring for me. But I think that the game is good, and for anyone who didn't pick up a Switch 2, this is the game to get with a Switch 2. I will also say, rumors seem to be indicating that the bundle with the with the Mario Kart World thing is going away. There was a thing where like the legal notice on their website disappeared from Mario Kart 8's bundle, Mario Kart World bundle, excuse me, where they were like, this will end production in fall of 2025, was on their page for the longest time. And then it disappeared. And I initially interpreted that as, oh shit, they're just going to continue manufacturing this forever. That's incredibly smart. And then, like, during Black Friday, Nintendo's like, no, we actually are getting rid of it, by the way. And this is going to be the last time you can get it. And so it's like, okay, well, never mind then. I was going to tell you that this game is absolutely worth the $50 price tag of getting it bundled. It is not worth $80. I don't care what your opinion on this game is. There is no world where I can tell you this game is worth $80. As the first video game in the AAA space to be priced at that point, it is genuinely, it pisses me off that this game is priced at that point, and that Nintendo is mostly getting away with it. The $50 price tag? Sure, that's fine, actually. I think it's very worth $50. I'd say it's worth $60. It's not worth $80. It is in no way worth $80, and I am genuinely appalled by that price tag, and kind of offended at it that Nintendo thinks so little of their consumers that they think that this game right here is worth that price, because it doesn't even have more content than Mario Kart 8. Like, I don't think price tag needs to necessarily correlate to content, but it's definitely a thing that the consumer is going to look at it under. And I think it's abysmal that this game has that price tag. And if you haven't picked up a Switch 2 yet, and you're going to start getting one maybe sometime next year, and the bundle is out of stock, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I don't recommend this game. Not at $80. If you can get it on sale, maybe. You can get it used, maybe. But for $80, no way. Nuh-uh. Mm-mm. Play other games. So, there you go. That's hopefully the last time I'll talk about Mario Kart World, aside from maybe if I ever stream it again as like a little one-off thing. But let's move on, shall we? To our number 5. We're finally in the top 5. Now we're getting into the really, really good shit. The stuff that, like, my complaints are minimal. And first, I'd like to talk to you about today's sponsor. Have you heard of the little game I like to call Xenoblade? Number 5 is Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. You know, I almost forgot that this came out this year. Not in the top 3. Yep. Nope. This is number 5. I think it's right where it belongs. Xenoblade Chronicles X is a good game. This remake whoa, I didn't mean to move that. This remake makes the game a great game, in my opinion. The original Wii U version had a lot of problems, namely, I think things were kind of like poorly telegraphed. I think the font on the subtitles was really hard to read. It was really hard to find party members if you wanted to swap them out, because you had to go around NLA in the original version and find them standing in different places. In DE, you can then find them just in your menu. You can also find them around town, I guess, if you'd want that level of immersion. But this version pretty much fixes all of the biggest major complaints that you can address with this. Aside from the main issue, I guess, other people will have, which is that its story is kind of lame. And yeah, in comparison to other Xenoblade games, this game definitely has the weakest story. I won't deny that. The new content that was added, which we'll talk about, I guess now. I was gonna say later, but might as well talk about it now. The new content, such as Volataris, the new final boss, the new additional recruitable party members, and all of the lore and cutscenes that are associated with them, is all really great. I think I have mixed opinions on the way that they handled connecting this to the numbered trilogy. Future Redeemed, light spoiler, not really, but light spoiler. Future Redeemed already canonicized Xenoblade X in the numbered trilogy by mentioning Project Exodus on the Vector Industries radio. Now, we have this game come along, light spoiler for this one, where the character Al, I think his name was, Al was like trapped in between dimensions and shit, and like witnessed the events of Xenoblade 1, 2, and 3 through like fragments of glass drifting between the dimensions or something to that effect. And that's how they canonicize that, like, yes, what Klaus said in Xenoblade 2 about like the multiverse stuff is in fact the case, where like, yes, while they may not directly happen in the same world, these things do like exist in a parallel dimension. Perhaps something with the Zohar / Conduit will come into play at some point in the future for the Xeno series, but as things currently stand, we have that connection to go off of. I mean, it makes sense. Tetsuya Takahashi's stories are always all kind of the same game when you think about it, where they just kind of tell very similar stories and just kind of change only a few elements of it. Like, you could look at this game and be like, this is very similar in a lot of ways to Xenoblade 1. Like, the scowls are arguably just playable faces, and like the combat system, of course, in and of itself is obviously very similar to Xenoblade 1, but there are some similar elements here and there. But what really stands out to me is just all the quality of life stuff that was added to the DE version of this game. I can't even, off the top of my head, remember all of the changes, because, truthfully, this is like the single most changed remake that isn't like a Final Fantasy VII style remake that I've personally ever played. And it does it in a way that's not Majora's Mask 3D, where it's like changing elements of the game that made the game iconic and losing the point. I think, you know, the follow ball technology is more better than what it was. Like, it used to be very jank to follow around. Now it's pretty accurate. Quest tracking in general is a lot better. I really like the change of the character models, and just in general, the visuals have received an update. This is the only Xenoblade game that natively runs in 1080p, which is especially insane considering the size of the fucking world. Like, this is easily the biggest Xenoblade game. It's all one big, massive open world. And I really gotta commend them for getting this to run on the fucking Wii U. And then having it run this well on the Switch 1 is also fantastic. They did discover in the code when the game first came out that there's a 60 FPS mode in the game's elements, but for whatever reason, there is no Switch 2 version of this game just yet. I really need Monolith to make Switch 2 versions of not only this game, but I need them to make a Switch 2 version of the other Xenoblade games as well, because, you know, I'm just the Xenoblade guy. Of course I need that. Tatsu? Okay, let's talk about Tatsu for a moment. Tatsu is the Metroid Prime 4 of Xenoblade Chronicles X. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? like everyone hates him, but I'm kind of like, I'm weirdly positive about Tatsu. I actually kind of like him. I like him more than I like, what's his nuts from Xenoblade 2? Tora. That said, Tatsu is the one joke character in the base game where they just keep making the same joke about eating him over and over and over again, and if that is something you notice, then that will bother you, and if it's something that you don't really care about, and you're just like, okay, go with the bit, alright. And then, you know, it is what it is. In the new content, like in Volataris and the sequel stuff, Tatsu is actually pretty fine. Actually, I really like him in some of the new stuff. That maybe they only make like one more cooking joke with him, but for the most part, he's just a character at that point, and I actually really like Tatsu's vocal performance. I don't remember the name of the actor off the top of my head, but on that note, all of the returning actors did a phenomenal job. Of course, to a certain extent, you can just like hear the differences in some of the characters because it has been like 10 years. Like, Caitlin Glass sounds so much older as Elma in this. Lynn still sounds identical, but that's just because, who's it? Is it Christina Venezuela that does her? She just does that character voice so often for characters like Morgana and Sothis. Like, Lynn still sounds the same. I will say I am very, very disappointed that they couldn't get Vandam's voice actor back. Commander Vandam. He sounds so fucking weird in the new content. He went from like, "Hey cowboy, how's it going?" to, "Hey cowboy, how's it going?" He sounds like fucking like, like, let's find the computer room Vector. It's jarring to listen to. But, I mean, they did what they could. I don't know if the actor was just busy. I don't believe they're, like, passed away or anything. I think they just might have just been unavailable for re-recording, which is Also a shame that they couldn't have like made some kind of deal where it's like, okay, we'll get you in the studio later or something. But at the end of the day, it's just one side character's voice. It's not even a party member, so no big deal, I guess. They also had to get a lot of other people back for, like, the main character here. I forget who I had, but I had, like, the Joker. So the guy, I think, who did Young Joseph in the JoJo anime. I forget his name. But he was my guy for my character creator here. And he had to come back and do new lines for arts too. So, yeah, I mean, they put in a lot of effort for the voice direction. And I really appreciate that. There's only a few new remixes in this game. If I have anything to complain about, it's that. Xenoblade 1DE, like, redid the entire soundtrack, except for cutscenes. This game only redoes, like, 8 songs. And it's the final boss theme. It's this song, Don't Worry. It's the key we've lost. That's the final boss. And actually, I think that's it. It's just those two are the ones that they redid. And then they do, you know, the new music of Volataris. They do the new Volataris battle theme, which is really good. And I like it a lot. And Sawano did come back for that, which is nice. Sawano doesn't really work on the Xenoblade music anymore. He just did only Xenoblade X, so it's nice to hear more Sawano music. But in general, if you need me to tell you about Xenoblade X, the game, because I haven't really talked much about that yet, it's an open world Xenoblade game that plays very much like a single player MMO. Like, I've made that comparison with other Xenoblades, but this one in particular, like, no, it is a single player MMO. Like, there's grinding, there's quests, there's, like, big quests, there's little quests. There is multiplayer in it for some of the, like, raid battle stuff, but ultimately, I didn't really get to play too much multiplayer because I didn't really know a lot of people who had this. But this is the, without a doubt, best way to play this game. It is the, quote, definitive edition. And like I said, it turned a good game into a great game. But that said, it's probably even still my least favorite Xenoblade game. I think the only thing it's better than in terms of Xenoblade is it is better for me than the sequel DLC. What was it? Future Connected from Xenoblade 1. Didn't really care for that one too much. This is better than that, but ultimately, at the end of the day, it is what it is. Oh, and then there's this new plane that they added too. I really like playing as this. If Monolith wants to make a whole, like, Star Fox game that controls, like, this plane, the Hresvelg, I would fucking love that. This thing is so fucking fun to control, and genuinely, it's like, it's a game changer for health combat, for skill combat. I don't know why the fuck I said health. But beyond that, I guess that's really all I got for you for Xenoblade X. Play it if you like Xenoblade. This wouldn't be the first Xenoblade game I would recommend. It is very gameplay focused, so if you aren't a fan of the gameplay of Xenoblade 1, this is a better game than Xenoblade 1 is on a gameplay level. I would not say it has all of the same reasons why I like to play Xenoblade, though. So I would personally recommend you play 3. If you've never played the entire series, play 3 first. Not the DLC, just the base game of 3. And then if you like it, play 1 and 2. Then play, I guess, 1 and 2's DLCs. And then play 3's DLC. And then if you're still itching for more Xenoblade, then you can play this one, I think. But ultimately, at the end of the day, this is a good game, a fun game, a game that I enjoyed playing mostly off stream, and I streamed it occasionally just to do the story segments. And yeah, it's good. It's good. So let's move on to my number 4 game. This one I'm not going to have a ton of things to say about, I don't think, because I didn't really stream it at all. aside from when I played the early access of it several years ago. But this was an all offline experience for me with the full release, which is, of course, Hades 2. Let me take a drink real quick before we start. So, Hades 2 is the sequel to Hades. Alright, that's it. That's all I have to say about Hades 2. On to my number 3. Claire Obscure So, Hades 2 is obviously the sequel to Hades, and it is... I don't know yet if I like it more or less than the original, but it is on equal footing at the very least. It is a bigger game. It is a grander game. I really like Milenoe's character even more than I like Zagreus. I still haven't fully finished this game, though, I should say. I've played and beaten Kronos 4 times, and I've beaten... I forget his name, but the other guy at the end of the other route. I've beaten him once. So I've gotten to Olympus once, and I've beaten Kronos 4 times. So I still have a bit to go before I'm fully, like, done with the story of this game, so I don't quite know how it concludes. But on a pure gameplay level, I really love that there's, like, 2 different routes that you can choose from after a certain point. In my entirety of playing the early access, I never even unlocked the alternate route for it, so... When I did pick up the Switch 2 version of the game, I mostly played the game in 120 FPS, and really, really enjoyed it. I can't tell you the difference between 120 and 60, but, you know, it's there, as far as I'm aware anyways. And, you know, it runs really well on Switch. I've never seen any dropped frames. I did start over. I had the ability to do cross-saves, and I considered resuming from where I last left off, but I thought it would be more fun to just, like, start from the beginning. Because when I streamed the game in early access, it was very, very early in that, like, a lot of graphical elements were different. Some characters didn't even have, like, proper portraits yet. And obviously the balancing of the game changed drastically. So, I think I would recommend this game even if you haven't played the original Hades. It is challenging in all the right ways. It is fun. The music, Darren Korb, just absolutely phenomenal voice actor, voice director, and musical composer. Like, the fact he does it all is insane to me. I won't go into spoilers, but the characters that he does voice in this game are very well done. And I really like the new lead Milenoe as well a lot. Some of the new gods are also really fun for me. I like Hephaestus. Every time I see that fucking hammer, I'm going for a Hephaestus build. It just oops all explosive attacks. In general, Kronos, I like him a lot. He's much more antagonistic, I think, than Hades was in the original game. Obviously, like, Hades is just kind of like doing his job, and he's like, get back to bed, son. Whereas Kronos is like, I'm going to kill you and all your family. I hate you for what you've done to me. And it's fun. But again, I haven't finished this game, so I can't really fully comment on the whole story angle just yet. But it's more Hades. It's more Hades done extremely well. And I figured, you know, my original Hades stream, I did a couple of streams of it. It didn't do too well for me. And when I played the early access, also same thing there. It was a game that I'm really glad that I was able to play on my own, because I am able to grind out like a run or two before bed, which granted I haven't played in a while, but eventually I will get back to it and play more runs, and I do want to see this game's story through to the end, because I'm really interested in where it's going and how we actually put a stop to Kronos. I don't know yet, so I'm really excited to learn more. Also noteworthy is Hades 1 is the only game other than Xenoblade 2 that I've bought the entire soundtrack on iOS. like on iTunes. I haven't done that yet for Hades 2 because I don't want to get spoiled on some music. So I actually haven't even really listened to most of the music outside of the context of the game yet. But this game's soundtrack is... Actually, I think I like it better than the first game. Particularly Coral Crown, which is the song we just heard before this one. Love that song. Titan the Tyne is really good. Into Tartarus is good. Edge of Erebus. You know, tons of really, really good music in this game. And I guess, yeah, that's pretty much all I have for you right now for Hades 2. Good game. Not quite top 3 material for me, but that's just because our top 3... Well, I mean, you know what's in our top 3, right? Come on, you know. Well, let me just say, Shadow is so fast, and then you'll know. Number 3 is Sonic Racing Crossworlds. Arguably, this could be number 1. All of my top 3 this year are very interchangeable. And honestly, I might not even... Yeah, I don't know. I could tell you that this is my number 1. I could tell you my number 2 is my number 1. I could tell you my number 1 is my number 3. It could go any way, which way ever you want it to have it be. But you know what? Shadow is so fast, and that's all that matters. So, Sonic Racing Crossworlds is another game that I've streamed many times. I have like 14 streams of this, which is actually a lot for me. It's mostly because I just keep coming back to it for festivals. But as I said during the Mario Kart segment, this is a arcadey-like racer that I would recommend to anyone who maybe was feeling a little let down by Mario Kart. This game is... well, let's just say it is a racing game where you play as Sonic the Hedgehog. So, they called it Sonic Racing, but then get this. Instead of driving on straight lines to get to the next track, you just appear there, and it's great for that. Also, they have the crossroad mechanic separately from that. I was referring to just, like, after the track ends, like, you just, like, you spawn in. But, I guess there's the crossroad mechanic, too, where every lap 2 is going to be either one of the interim tracks, or sometimes even a full lap of one of the other tracks of the game. Which is fun. I do think, if this game has one thing I have to complain about, it's lack of content. I watched Game Cage's feedback video. I think I have to agree with him, like, note for note on pretty much everything he brought up in that video. Also, this footage is choppy. Sorry, I didn't realize I picked such a shitty clip. But regardless, I think that this game really needs... Apparently, there's been data mine free tracks coming. This game needs those sooner rather than later. Because as things currently stand... There's like 28, 29 tracks in the game right now, something to that effect. Even in Mario Kart World, the number of tracks is a complaint for me. In this one, it's even more because, you know, there's less. And I'm playing this one so much more that, like, I'm just, like, getting kind of sick of it almost. And also, like, because of the Lap 2 thing pulling from a different track, you then start to experience, you know, you're going to pull some of the other tracks in there, and then you're going to do another lap from maybe a course you just raced on or something. That doesn't happen that frequently, but it can. It is something to just note where, like, I do feel a little starved for more content. The characters, the DLC characters, really fucking cool that they're adding so many, like, crossover stuff. I love that we're getting random picks like Knights in here. We're getting, like, Whisper and Tangle. We're getting, fucking I. We got Mega Man coming in the future. There's gonna be Avatar. What? Okay, fine, whatever. And in general, I really, really love this game. I will say, if they want to do a separate DLC pack, be a separate season pass, or maybe just add to it, kind of like the booster course did for courses, that's what I need. One course being added every time they add a crossover character, I'm just gonna be blunt, is not enough. It's not enough new content. One track, you'll finish it in 4 minutes, and then that's it. That's all the new stuff. The characters are cool, but the way I look at characters in any racing game is that they are skins. I know that they do have differences. They have different stats, of course. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the game will play largely similarly if you just have different characters. So what really changes the game up is having different courses. They really, really need to add more for me to really, really enjoy this game. What else can I say? The kart customization in this game. Okay, so Mario Kart World pretty much scrapped the Mario Kart 8 and 7 thing of choosing your wheels, tires, and glider. Now, Mario Kart World, the way they do it is you just pick certain kart builds, much like older Mario Karts, and you go from there. This game, it has a middle ground approach, where it has both. You can select pre-built karts, and then you can customize them further if you would like. So you can change the wheels out. What else can you change? You can change the wheels, you can change the vehicle. There's a third thing too, right? I'm blanking on it for some reason. It's not the glider, no. I don't know, maybe it's just the two. The horn? Well, I'm talking about, like, for, adjusting the stats. Because you change the tires and then the stats change. I guess it's the front and the back body. There's front bodies and back bodies that you switch, right? That's what it is. So, yeah. You can either match two to make it look really, continuous, or you can combine two different... You can put, like, the Minecraft cart and, like, the Yakuza back, and it looks really jank, but, there's that. There's also the gadget system, which goes a really, really long way towards making the game more interesting to play. Because now, the game turns into sort of Paper Mario, in a way, where you equip these gadgets, and they have completely different effects. So you can have something that gives you, like, a third inventory slot for your items. You can have a gadget that gives you a massive speed boost whenever it's lap 3. You can see me flailing around like a motherfucker as the creeper in this clip. That's because I have an air trick speed up, which allows me to do more tricks quicker, which gives me a bigger boost when I land. There's gadgets for getting to level 4, which your drift usually only goes up to tier 3, but you can get one that allows for a level 4 drift, which, as I understand, is in online spaces the absolute meta, and you'll always see that. Hopefully they can do us all a favor and nerf things and make the gadgets less, I don't know, just like make that one less good and make the others better, I think. If I have any other complaints about the game, it's that with the festivals, I'm not a fan of the exclusive content, the FOMO. Granted, that's how you get people to participate. If I'm being real, if there was no FOMO shit, I probably wouldn't participate in half of those festivals. I specifically, I'm a little sad that I miss out on horns, because I just straight up was not able to play the SpongeBob festival. Not that it's that big of a deal, because it's just a horn that I probably won't even use. But I like having all the kart customization options. And missing out on the horn is pretty sad to me. Granted, they have made it so you can get the gadgets you miss out on, which is good. None of the gadgets that have been in the festivals have been all that helpful anyways, but hey, I'll take it. They're making it available. That's what I want. Same applies for the horns for me. I'm fine with the decals being exclusive. That to me even makes sense. But the horns for me need to be made available. Maybe if they make it so you just complete a Grand Prix in single player with that character from the DLC, then it unlocks the horn. I don't know, but there needs to be some way to unlock it, personally speaking. They also need to adjust items, Froze is saying. I haven't... Yes and no. I feel like the items are less frustrating than it is in Mario Kart, but I also feel you there. I think what I really don't love about some of the items in this game is there's a lot of things that make you drop your items that make no sense. Like the slime. The slime does like 4 different things to you. It covers your screen. You have to shake, or you have to like spin the analog stick to get it off your screen. Your top speed is reduced, and you drop all of your items. Like, the slime doesn't make any sense for me to drop my items, if you ask me. You have the ability to change your gadgets. Huh? Well, I mean, yeah, you can change your gadgets in between rounds, yeah. That is a nice thing. I like that for online, where you can just... You can choose whatever gadgets you want, and if it's not working out for you in the next race, you try something else, yeah. Item shield gadget. I suppose, yes, you could have a gadget built around making that stuff less annoying. There might even be a gadget for not dropping things. I don't know. Games Cage brought it up in his video. Like I said, I watched that whole thing recently, and I think I have to agree with him specifically on the point of the slime being especially obnoxious. Like, doing 4 things to you at once, one of those has to go. My vote would be going against dropping the item, but it does too much. It's too powerful, especially because it hits like everyone in front of you. Beyond that, this game's soundtrack is okay. It has yonky splunky stuff like this. Listen to this. Yonk. Yep. They got yonky splunky dubstep in here. But for the most part, this game's soundtrack is pretty solid. I think in general, I'm not hugely in love with a lot of the... like anything that sounds like this, like the Sonic Genesis sounding stuff, I'm not huge on. But that's just a genre thing. I don't think the music is like poorly written or anything like that. I think it purely comes down to a genre thing for me. And I'm just not huge on dubstep in general. Some chiptune can be really good. I mean, I really like Toby Fox's music, and that's a lot of chiptune right there, so take it as you want to, I suppose. But beyond that, I'm trying to think, is there any other major points I want to hit on with this game? I gotta say, the performance of the game on Switch 1, I haven't played it on Switch 1, but I've seen some footage of it. Surprisingly comparable version of the game. The Switch 2 version is phenomenal, though. I haven't picked that up yet either, and I'm really considering getting it. Because, yeah, the Switch 2 version is very on par with the PC, and I just love that the cross-world mechanic doesn't lag the game whatsoever. Like, I've had a couple of drop frames on stream when streaming the game, but that's more just my PC itself being bottlenecked, and I have a little bit of an older GPU. I have a 3080, which is a good GPU, but, you know, it's getting up there in years, I suppose. So, and it gets a lot of use because I'm streaming, recording, and playing a game at the same time. But, yeah, no drop frames during the Crossworlds. I believe that's consistent across all consoles. I gotta commend them for that. It's an impressive visual effect that doesn't really lag the game, and it doesn't really require any loading either. Like, it's just there. And also, like, it's not that like I guess it preloads while you're approaching it, right? But like when whoever's in first place at the end of lap 1 gets to choose where lap 2 takes you. You get 2 options. So it's not like it has these things preloaded. Like if it predetermined where your lap 2 was gonna go, it probably could have preloaded it once you load into the map initially. But instead, it decides which one to load based on where first place is at, and that's cool. And I just really like that about the game. I haven't spent nearly enough time in single player in this game, and I also have not spent nearly enough time playing this game when it's not during a festival. So those are 2 things I need to do more. Especially the latter one, because I need to get my online rank up quite a bit, so that way I can have access to more gadgets. But even just playing the game in single player, you know, I don't have Supersonic unlocked, which I have to beat all the rivals in single player, which, you know, I could just probably do on my own at some point, but still. I played this game split screen with Megan, by the way, as well. It runs pretty good in split screen as well. No complaints there. Only compliments. Sonic Racing Cross Worlds is a phenomenal game, and arguably in the conversation for one of the best racing games of all time. And the only thing I have right now to say is we need more courses. Once we get those more courses, I think this will truly and wholly be one of the greatest. And there's Piss Egg Pawn in here. Oh, actually, I do have one more thing to note, and that is on the note of Piss Pawn. In general, the friendship tickets, they have been making adjustments to make them more frequent to get. I still do feel that the ticket gaining system is a little slow. Granted, in this most recent Nights Festival, there were 3 instances of gaining 1,000 tickets at once. I need that to be in every festival. Every festival needs that, because that felt right to me. But beyond that, like, some of the prices for the tickets in this are insane. In order to get the alternate AI skins, as we're calling them, you need to spend like 4,000 tickets in the friendship menu, which is just bonkers insanity, if you ask me. That's an insane amount of grinding you're asking a lot of people to do. And, you know, a lot of people will do it. But for me, because there's so limited courses, I don't feel like I want to play this game more and more and more. Whereas, even with Mario Kart, you know, there's a lot of variety there, at least for me, because there's just a few more courses, and for what it's worth, even though I do find them a little boring, I was going to call them inter-courses. What are we calling them again? The intermissions. The intermissions are varietous in that there's like 206 of them. Again, they are very samey. I'm not going to say that they're like the most interesting thing ever, but just small little things to make it slightly different in between rounds makes it more interesting for me. And granted, this does have that in the sense of like, you'll never actually know what your lap 2 is going to be ahead of time. But the crossworlds themselves aren't the most interesting part. Like the lap 2 specific courses are usually all pretty simple. So I don't really love most of them, actually. But I think that's it. That's all I really have to say. Hopefully they can address some of my complaints. And maybe another thing that Games Cage brought up in his video was offering other alternate skins beyond just the AI racers. Like, I don't know what exactly you'd pull from. Maybe, like, put Sonic in the Knight outfit from Sonic in the Black Knight. Stuff like that, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if everyone necessarily has outfits you can pull from. And I mean, arguably, there's also mods if you play on PC. You could mod the characters to look different, but I need to do the survey. Yeah, I have not done that survey yet. Remind me, and I'll try to do that at some point. But there you go. That's Sonic Racing Crossworlds. We're getting up there. Now, let's talk about my number 2. This is a phenomenal video game that I think if it wasn't for my absolute nostalgia bias that enters the number 1 slot, this game was very much my game of the year and was even in the running for game of the year at the Jeff Keighley Fraud Show. That is, of course, DK Bonanza. An absolutely phenomenal experience, start to finish. Mario Odyssey was a game I did not 100% complete on any playthrough. DK Bonanza, I felt absolutely enthralled, and I needed to 100% this game upon first playthrough. This was, and genuinely is, my favorite 3D platformer, I think, probably ever. It's just so fun to control. It's got so much personality. The music is phenomenal. I know a lot of people find Pauline to be annoying in this game. I actually kind of liked her, even though I'm not huge on Pauline and other things. She was funny. She was cute. I liked the story here quite a bit as well. The villains are phenomenal, and not even to speak on what happens in the end game of this game. Seriously, if you haven't seen this game's ending and somehow haven't been spoiled on it and are a massive DK fan, I won't be spoiling it here, even though I definitely have in other streams, but still, do yourself a favor and play through this game. I love the destructible terrain and stuff. I will say it does kind of lean a little into that Tears of the Kingdom / Breath of the Wild do-it-yourself gameplay thing. So if that's not your vibe, then you might not love this game. But I think for a game like a 3D platformer, this is the game to do that with. Where you can kind of solve a situation in your own way. You can dig through a puzzle. You can throw salt piles to make a bridge over it. You can do some crazy platforming jump shit. And I also really love that you can just climb with no restriction in this. There's some surfaces I guess you can't climb, but there's no stamina gauge. You just climb to your heart's content. You break shit. Look at this. Look at this dude just beating his way through the ground. Find banana. Oh my god, look at that. It's random fucking sign in here. I also love believe it or not, the skill tree makes a huge difference. In Mario Odyssey, whenever I collect a moon, I'm like, yep, there's another moon. This is just a means to an end to get to the end of the game or get to the next level. Whenever I collect another banana, I'm genuinely oh, fuck, what am I going to use this on? Seriously. I think that going into the game, I was really skeptical about the skill tree. I was like, hey, do we really need a skill tree in this? This just feels like a forced, hey, you know what, gamers love skill trees. But actually, throwing this in here gives you many reasons to collect as many bananas as you can. And even collecting all 777 bananas doesn't give you the entire skill tree. You have to buy extra bananas at the shops in order to complete that out. Much like, I guess you do if you want 999 bananas in Odyssey. But again, in Odyssey, there's no real reason to do that beyond just saying you want to 100% the game. In this game, there's the fossils, there's the bananas, there's tons of collectibles. I really love all of the different layers. I can't think of a single one that I disliked outright. There are some that I think are better than others, without a doubt. The Feast layer, this one is probably the best one in the game. I will say the DLC for the game is... it's okay. Probably not worth your money, but I'm such a big DK Bonanza fan that I don't regret my purchase necessarily. I don't think it's worth $20, and the fact that it came out so soon after the original game came out, even though it was, like, developed separately, this wasn't an instance of, like, they held content back, as far as I can tell. Because it does have, like, its own separate credits going for it, and there's not a lot of overlap in the credits for it, from what I also understand. So, I'm a fan. I'm a real big fan of this game. I love the different way that, like, as you're seeing here, terrain can kind of interact with itself or other terrain around it. The salt will dissolve the acid stuff. Again, if you're a DK fan, you will find that there's going to be a lot of nostalgia stuff in here. The DK Artist mode, I forgot this was even in the game. DK Artist was a very interesting little addition where you can use mouse controls to just carve a shape somewhat similar to Mario Paint, I guess. So here you can watch me design a Monado from scratch. It's not a cock and balls, I swear it's not a cock and balls, it's a Monado, okay? Of course it's a Monado, I'm obsessed. And yeah, I mean, I guess I don't really want to spoil some of the better elements of this game, but especially the later layers in the game do a lot of interesting things, and I feel like the game always had something new to throw at me, and I never felt once like, okay, been here, done that. Like, it is a DK game through and through, where, like, Tropical Freeze, you know, is constantly throwing a new level idea at you with every level. This does the same thing, and it never holds on to it for all too long. And I guess if I had anything else to complain about, maybe it's a little on the easy side. I would actually like a harder mode for this, but you know, it's still fun to play all the way through. I can't wait till the day that I actually decide to stream this. I played it all on my own, with the exception of I did a single stream of the base game just to kind of like talk about it and like show my first impressions on the game. So if you want something a little bit more where the game is more recent in my mind, go watch that, because admittedly there are some things I'm kind of forgetting about the game off the top of my head, but I really recommend this game. And I'll be annoying about it to the end of time, okay? Like, I seriously think that this might be my favorite 3D platformer. I'm gonna give it a little bit of time before I, like, fully have that as a lock-in. Because, I don't know, maybe I'll feel a little differently in a few years. But, I mean, this game has a phenomenal ending, a phenomenal soundtrack, a phenomenal game feel to it. It does lose frames every now and then, but I really don't. I've played so many Switch 1 games that do the same. Honestly, it's kind of impressive that the game runs at all, if you ask me. I know that's a bit of a cop-out, but, you know, if it bothers you, you know, make up your own mind on it, of course. I'm not here to tell you that you're right or wrong one way or another. I just really love this game, and I need... This game became like a hyperfixation for me in a way where I was constantly like telling people who didn't have Switch 2s to be like, you gotta get a Switch 2 and this game, man. I'm real right now. You need to play DK Bonanza. This is also another instance of a game that I'm a little ashamed to admit because of the price tag, but I actually double dipped on this one. I bought it digitally, loved it so much that I wanted a physical copy. Granted, I didn't spend any money on the second copy. Megan got it for me. But still, regardless, I love that I have a physical copy of this game. I also have the amiibo for what it's worth. And it's just in its packaging. It doesn't actually do really much in the game itself. I wouldn't recommend getting it for the functionality. I like the way it looks. I don't know. It's DK Bonanza. What else can I say? Not much. Not much. It's just good. So yeah, that's Donkey Kong Bonanza. So if you know me well enough, you probably already know what my #1 game of the year is. So before we begin talking about that, let me just say, this year has been phenomenal. I know. A lot of tubers, when they do their end of year discussions, are going to say the exact same thing. And I feel like we all say it every year. This year has been a great year for gaming. But it really, truly has been. This, for me, was a very solid first year for Switch 1. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you... sorry, for Switch 2. Not Switch 1. Definitely not Switch 1. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the Switch 2 right now is a must-buy. You know, if... For me, I only recommend you buy the console if there are games on it that you want to play. DK Bonanza is a game that I recommend a lot of people play, but it's not something that I think necessarily everyone needs to play, right? But what I will say is that this next game is something very special to me because it was a sequel to something that I never thought we would receive a sequel to. And not only did we receive the sequel, but it ended up becoming the best sequel I could have ever hoped for. That is, of course, Kirby Air Riders. Kirby Air Riders, a 20-year-in-the-waiting sequel to Kirby Air Ride, which has done irreparable brain damage to me through titling this game Kirby Air Riders, because now I call both games the wrong thing interchangeably. And it's great. I love that I do that now. Thanks, Sakurai. The only complaint, the literal only complaint I have with this game that is like a major complaint is this game's logo. I think this game's logo is lame as hell. Other than that, this is a 10 out of 10 sequel for me. Now, with that said, Kirby Air Ride is not a game that I can exactly recommend everyone play. It is my favorite racing game of the year, without a doubt. Though, I mean, I guess I could... It depends on the context, too, because I could tell you Sonic Racing Crossroads is a better racing game. I think Kirby Air Ride and Kirby Air Riders as well, both are very lacking in racing. This game has 18 courses, which is abysmally low for a racing game. But this game also has 3 major modes: City Trial, Air Ride, and Top Ride, which Top Ride has an additional 9 tracks, so if you're being technical about it, I guess you could say that this game has 27. So, okay, that's about as much as Sonic Racing Crossroads, I suppose. And then if you consider, you know, City Trial and all the different maps that come with that, okay, this game is pretty content-rich. And I really, really love this game's soundtrack, like we were kind of discussing earlier. While I do find myself listening to the Mario Kart soundtrack world... Well, the Mario Kart World soundtrack more. Brain conniption there, I think, just happened. I think that this has the... I think... Realistically, thinking about it a little bit more, I think this does have the better soundtrack, because you're right. This game has, of course, the Noir DDD theme that we're hearing now. I really love Wave Flow Waters. Obviously, all the music from the first game comes back, so if you're counting that as part of it, you get stuff like Sky Sands and Checker Nights in here as well. The 02 remix that's in here is good, but it's not... I'm not in love with that one in particular, but the rest of this game's music... I don't hate it, let me clarify. I'm just, noting that, I guess. Also, I lost headphone in one ear. What happened there? I just, messed with my soundboard on accident and lost sound. Oh, hang on. Hang on. I'm trying to get it back. It's not coming back. Whatever. I don't need it. You can have it. I don't want it. I wish this wasn't a Nintendo game so it could go on sale more often. Yeah, I mean, I will say, I have a friend, Caleb, who I introduced this game to at his birthday a few weeks ago, and he said he enjoyed it, but he doesn't know if he would spend $70 on it. And at this point, I'm mad about the $80 Mario Kart World. $70, I hate to be this way, but I've unfortunately come to accept. And I don't like that I've done that, because $70 also feels steep. $60 to me still feels like where games should be priced for a AAA. Obviously, you can have phenomenal video games that don't need to be that price tag. Hollow Knight is proof enough. And, some could say it's corporate greed that drives it up to there, and I think, to a certain extent, yes, but also, there's a lot of people that works on these games, so I get it to some degree. $70 is a bit steep, though. I won't deny that. Hopefully this game will go on sale. Nintendo does seem like they're doing sales a little bit more frequently these days. Let's hope they keep up with it. There was a lot of games that was on sale recently. First-party Nintendo stuff. The song is really quiet. I need to turn it up. Oh, it's at max volume? Okay. Right here. But yeah, what else can I say? Saying a lot of ums. What can I say that isn't the letter U or the letter M in a succession? Online paddocks, really fun. I like the idea of the paddocks, just a big 3D environment that you can go around, you can hang out in. I was never expecting this game to have a paddock option that tags your lobby as live stream. I thought Sakurai hated streamers based on, what happened with Brawl. But no, he's chill with it now, I guess. Let's talk about Road Trip for a second. Road Trip is a fucking experience. Road Trip is the best way to, learn the game, I feel. Because it throws you in between all of the different game modes. Top Ride, City Trial, Air Ride, all of it. And, it plays very similarly to that of, Smash Brothers 3DS's classic mode, specifically, in that you choose one of 3 options, and then you do the thing, So, what else is there to say, other than there's a crazy-ass story there that I won't spoil, but fucking... It's a Kirby game, which, arguably, if you know Kirby, all Kirby games go hard with their stories, but, it is some genuine nightmare horror shit that happens in some of that, in one of those cutscenes. And, the only other thing that I guess I have to note majorly on with this game are the different riders and machines. In the original Kirby Air Ride, you could play as just Kirby. And then you had a bunch of different machines, and then King Dedede and Meta Knight were also playable, but they were considered different machine types. So you couldn't put, Dedede on the Warp Star, Dedede on the Wagon Star. It was just Dedede on the bike, and Meta Knight on the nothing. Meta Knight on himself. Meta Knight on some different shit, one might even say. I really like the variety that this game has. Surprisingly, there is a metric shit ton of variety in that we have one car, the Swerve Star, that like stops and starts entirely. There is no acceleration. It's just full speed or no speed, nothing in between, which will play entirely different to something like the Bulk Star, which is a machine that you constantly have to be charging up over time in order to ensure that it's still going forward. I mean, it's not as different as playing different characters in Smash Brothers, though some of the riders can be fairly unique. It is very Smash-coded in that sense. And I guess one thing I have to complain about is when you're playing this game split-screen multiplayer, it no longer shows the stats of each of the riders. Like, it just gets rid of that part of the UI, and I think it's a little annoying that it does that, because now I have to explain to everyone what everyone's good at, and I don't always know off the top of my head. So in order for things to be in a bit of a fair ground, I have to put myself on random. Otherwise, I'll have the advantage of knowing, like, everyone's strengths and weaknesses off the top of my head. Well, not everyone, but the characters at least that I would play. So, that is one minor gripe, and I guess another complaint I guess I could slightly muster, but it's first world problems type shit, is, as good as this game's roster is, there are still a few notable exceptions. There's no Mage Sisters, no Elfalin, no, Ribbon or, what's, Adeline, no Highness. Highness would be great. There's others that are also missing from throughout the series, but for the most part, this game's roster is mostly just, like, 80% of the Dream Friends from Kirby Star Allies, and then no RDDD. Which is kind of disappointing because in the directs, Sakurai very much made it apparent, he's like, there's more characters in this game than what I've currently told you. And the only character that was in the game that he didn't directly tell us was Noir DDD. So, okay, fine. And he arguably did tell us about that because he showed Noir DDD in some of the cutscenes and stuff. So, I don't know. At the end of the day, it's not too big of a deal because, much like how I said about Sonic Racing Crossworlds, your different rider is mostly a skin in a racing game, but I do think it makes more of a difference in Kirby Air Riders. Like, Rick is notably very good at speed and combat, whereas Marx is notably very bad at having health. Like, he takes one hit and dies. But for the most part, I love the variety of the game. City Trial is obviously where this game is at its best, and where I would recommend most players play this game. I really enjoy playing City Trial and introducing some friends to it. My friend Quinn also joined us when we were doing the whole hangout sesh I mentioned before at my place, and we played this game. And Quinn had never played the original Kirby Air Ride, and so he really enjoyed some of the reference stuff to, like, Kirby 64. He was like, yo, they put 02 in here, and then, like, by happenstance, we happened to get, like, the Kirby 64 pop star music playing in the background during City Trial, which was fun. So, you know, he's based like that. He just knows Kirby 64 like that. But beyond that, I mean, the courses in this game are very good. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. But, I don't really know if I have a whole lot more to add that I haven't said. This game gets my utmost recommendation. If anyone has a Switch 2, I'm sure this game is not going to sell nearly even like 10% of what Mario Kart does, which is disappointing, of course, but I guess on one hand, Mario Kart is the more, like I said, casually appealing game, but also it's more recognizable, I think. Like, people know that they like Mario Kart. People don't know if they like Kirby Air Riders, and honestly, it takes a few rounds of City Trial to understand what's going on. Like, it's actually a pretty common thing when I introduce people to the game, that people don't really realize you should be breaking the boxes in City Trial, I'm noticing. Like, I introduced my friend Caleb, I introduced Quinn, Austin. All three of these instances, they did not realize on their own that the boxes were something you could break and need to break in order to gain stats adequately. So I don't really know if there's really anything else they could have telegraphed there. It's just, when you first play City Trial, there's a lot to it. It's kind of overwhelming. So for me, the lifelong Kirby Air Ride fan, of course I'm going to know what to do and like how to optimize my run. But it's worth noting that, I think, and it's important to understand that recommending this game is difficult, and this game had a demo that did an okay job at showing the game, but I don't feel like it did the best job at showing what this game really is like. I feel like more courses, and maybe also including Top Ride in that demo, which was a limited time demo, but all the same, should have been a priority. Beyond that, I guess I don't really have much else to add. Play as Rick, have a good time, look at Rick. He's thick, he's basically the centerpiece of the universe. And enjoy Rick's presence while he's with us, because this may be the last time we ever see him. Unless Sakurai is the GOAT and puts him as a playable character in the next one, but, you know, maybe there's still hope for us Rick fans out there, you know. We're spoiled, us Rick fans. We don't get enough love. But there you go, everyone. That is the 2025 Gabe Awards in its entirety. We had Titans of the Tide, Pokemon ZA, Bits and Bops, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, which I'm going to put an asterisk on that one once again, Mario Kart World, Xenoblade Chronicles X, Hades 2, Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, Donkey Kong Bonanza, and Kirby Air Riders. So, what's next then? Well, in 2026, like I've mentioned before, there's going to be Deltarune. We're going to be checking out Terraria. We're going to be doing lots of just more of the same, truthfully. Nothing special. Like last year, I gave you a big list of things that were going to be new in 2026 or 2025. I'm not doing any of that shit. You know, the VTuber is new, and I'm liking doing the VTubing. It's a nice side thing for me to just add a little bit of stuff. I'm not going too hard into it. I'm not gonna like start doing like a bunch of VTube stuff. But I do have one thing that I wanted to do before the end of the stream, and that is the Big 3 2025 Kart Racer Treks. Froze suggested this to me many an eon ago, and I promised that I would do that at the end of this stream. So we're gonna kind of go through this somewhat rapid fire. Aren't there courses? Yeah, there's courses here that I don't know. So here's what I'm going to do. How do I add another one again? Click this, or how do you add more? Oh, here we go. Add a row below. Okay. And then we'll change this and we'll be like, I don't hack Sonic Racing, so IDK. Okay, so that's the category for... There are some DLC tracks on here that people have access to if you hack the game or do mods. I'm not doing mods, so that's gonna be just not there. So that would be... Which one? The Pack Village would be Wily Castle. Just those two are in here right now. Bikini Bottom is now available, so we can tier that. But I guess let's start with the Kirby Air Ride stuff. I'm not really going to give you a big explanation on where these go. I'm just going to kind of go based on feel, you know? Gloria Fields. And I may change these later, but I'm going to start it. This is the most average of average courses there are. I'm going to say C is like good. D is like I probably don't like it. B is pretty good. A is very good. And S is like I really, really love playing on this course. Fantasy Meadows, D. Celestial Valley, C. Sky Sands, S. Frozen Hillside, A. Magma Flows, B. Beanstalk Park, D. Machine Passage, A. S. Checker Knights, S. Nebula Belt. Specifically, Air Riders Nebula Belt, B. Nah, C. C. No, I'll even do that. We'll order this actually in order. Whatever's closest to the left is my highest ranking of these. I'd say Fantasy Meadows is easily my least favorite track in Kirby Air Riders. Wave Flow Waters, S tier. Airtopia Ruins, A tier. Crystalline Fissure, A tier. Top of A tier. Steam Gust Forge, right there. Cavernous actually, no, top of S for me. Cavernous Caverns, B tier. Siberian Highway, bottom of A. Mount Amber Falls, middle of A. Galactic Nova, top of A. Alright, now onto the Sonic stages. We got E Stadium, B. Rainbow Gardens, middle of C. Water Palace, bottom of C. Crystal Mine, B. Top of B. Ocean View, bottom of B. Metal Harbor, bottom of A. Sand Road, middle of A. Colorful Mall, bottom of S. Mystic Jungle, B. Apodos, music, below D. Course itself is like bottom of B. Wonder Museum, like right there, A. Pumpkin Mansion, right there. Urban Canyon, look right there. Market Street, right there. Coral Town, right there. Lizard Valley, bottom of S. Radical Highway, middle of S. And it's still bottom, but like right there. Chow Park, right the top of A, yeah. Donpa Factory, right there. Aqua Forest, and again, I'll reorganize this after I get everything in there. Just give me a second here. Aqua Forest. We'll make sure that this is the correct, factually correct order that everything goes in here. Eggman Expo, that's definitely S. Kronos Island, bottom of S. North Star Island, it's like B. White Space, A. Minecraft World, unironically S. Unironically might be the best course in Sonic Racing Crossroads. Bikini Bottom, bottom of C. Alright, and again, I'll reorganize the specific order after I get everything in. Mario Brothers Circuit from Mario Kart World. I like the vibe. I actually kind of like the vibes of this course. B. Crown City, A. Whistletop Summit, B. No, C. Yeah, C. Bottom of C. DK Spaceport. Like there. Desert Hills. B. Shy Guy Bazaar. B. Wario Stadium. Middle of C. Airship Fortress. For me, this is still an S tier course. I don't really feel like it's too different. S. DK Pass. Probably the best version of DK Pass. Put it in B. Starview Peak. Bottom of C. Sky High Sundae. A tier. Mario Shipyard. A tier. Koopa Troopa Beach. Top of D. Faraway Oasis. B. Peach Beach. B. Salty Salty Speedway. One's okay. C. Dino Jungle. On a nostalgic level, I'd say S tier. Yeah. Question Block Ruins. It's like an A. Right around there. Cheap Falls. Right there. Dandelion Depths. This one's actually pretty good. I think a little underrated. Bottom of S. Boo Cinema. Top of S. Not the tippity top, but up there. It's gonna put it between these two courses. Dry Bones Burnout. This is my favorite Mario Kart World track. Moo Moo Meadows. Megan's gonna kill me, but bottom of B. Choco Mountain. I don't like this version of Choco Mountain very much. Usually I put this in like B or A, but I'm gonna put this like there. Toad's Factory. A. Bowser Castle. Bottom of B. Acorn Heights. Top of B. Mario Circuit. Middle of A. And Peach Stadium. C. And Rainbow Road. Okay. So that's our starting list here. That's where I'm starting. Now we need to ask ourselves, do I like X course better than the last one? We'll start at the bottom. Desert Hills. Do I like Desert Hills or Fantasy Meadows more? I like Desert Hills more than I like Fantasy Meadows. I'm not even joking. Do I like Beanstalk Park or Desert Hills more? Beanstalk Park. Beanstalk Park or Koopa Troopa Beach? Beanstalk Park. Beanstalk Park or Peach Stadium? Peach Stadium. Starview Peak or Peach Stadium? Starview Peak. Starview Peak or Whistletop? Starview. Starview or Bikini Bottom? Starview. Starview or Water Palace? Starview. Starview or Celestial Valley? Celestial Valley. Celestial Valley or Nebula Belt? Celestial Valley. Celestial Valley or Rainbow Gardens? Very similar to me. Rainbow Gardens, probably. Rainbow Gardens or Wario Stadium? Wario. Wario Stadium or Salty Salty Speedway? Wario Stadium. Wario Stadium or Urban Canyon? Wario Stadium. Choco Mountain or Wario Stadium? Wario Stadium. Wario Stadium or Floria Fields? Wario Stadium. Wario Stadium or Bowser's Castle? Bowser's Castle. Bowser's Castle or Moo Moo Meadows? Bowser's Castle. Bowser's Castle or Shy Guy Bazaar? Shy Guy's Bazaar. Shy Guy Bazaar or Apotos? Shy Guy Bazaar. Shy Guy Bazaar or Mario Circuit? Shy Guy Bazaar. Shy Guy Bazaar or Ocean View? Shy Guy Bazaar. Bazaar or Market Street? I really like the turns of Shy Guy Bazaar a lot, actually. Shy Guy Bazaar or Cheap Cheap Falls? Okay. No, I think I like Faraway Oasis more than Shy Guy Bazaar. Yep. Faraway Oasis or E Stadium? That's probably as far as that's gonna go. Magma Flows or Peach Beach? Fine. Dompa Factory or Cavernous Corners? Cavernous Corners. Crystal Mine or Cavernous Corners? Cavernous Corners. Or Coral Town? Yeah. DK Pass or Cavernous Corners? Cavernous Corners. Mystic Jungle or Cavernous Corners? Cavernous Corners! Okay, I think this one's just the top of B tier, actually. Alright, and Wario Shipyard. Yeah, that's where I think it belongs. Sky High Sunday. Maybe I like a little bit more than White Space, but not by much. Metal Harbor or DK Spaceport. Are you noticing? A lot of these courses are very similar. Like where they're like landing aesthetically. These are very similar aesthetics. Huh. That said, I think Metal Harbor does have that Sonic Adventure 2 edge. Yeah, I think I gotta give it to them. Siberian Highway or Metal Harbor? Siberian Highway. Siberian Highway or Mario Circuit? Yeah. Airtopia Ruins or Siberian Highway? Siberian Highway or Rainbow Road? Siberian Highway or question mark Bluins? Whoa, that was... What the fuck happened there with my speech? I'm gonna give it to the highway. Toad's Factory or Mount Amber Falls? Toad's Factory. Toad's Factory or Sand Road? Toad's Factory. Toad's Factory or Frozen Hillside? Frozen Hillside. Frozen Hillside or Crystalline Fissure? Yep, that's fine. Let's do that there. Aqua Forest or Galactic Nova? Yeah, this needs to be at the top, I think, of A. Dandelion Depths, that's fine right where it is. Airship Fortress needs to move. It's gonna go right about there, I think. Okay. Dandelion Depths. Radical Highway. Yeah. I think that's it. Let me run through one more time. Just verify that I really feel this way, but I think this is my list. Okay, yeah, that's it. Unironically, Dry Bones Burnout is the bottom for you, really? I mean, visually it's nothing too crazy, but I like the music so much, and I like the mariachi vibes to it. So I like it a lot, personally. Maybe not my favorite track to race on, though. But I like that music a lot. I'll bump it down a little. I'll put it there. Yeah, I think that looks about right to me. I can't believe that Minecraft World is the best track for me, but I think that's true. I think so. Yeah. So there you go. That is the completed tier list of all of the tracks from this, from these games. I can't believe I went as long as I did. I started early. I thought I was going to be done, like, kind of early. I'm glad I started early because it's now 9:36 and that's also the end of my music playlist as well. So, I had 109 songs picked out, some of which we didn't actually listen to. Like I had more bits and bops music ready to go in case I yapped for longer about that and stuff like that. But that's going to conclude the Gabe Awards in full this year. So thank you for tuning in. This is always a fun thing for me to do just at the end of the year, discuss what I played. Also, just kind of remind myself what I played this year and, try to come up with how my thoughts may have changed since ending. Like, for example, finishing a game back in, I don't know, January or February of last year, how does my opinion currently feel on it, And surprisingly, it changes quite a lot over the year. My opinion on Tears of the Kingdom is like a big one where like when I first played it, I really, really loved it. Then by the time I did my Gabe Awards that year, I still liked it a lot. And now I'm much more lower on Tears of the Kingdom. Just like as time goes on and I think about it more, I like it less. But even still, I'd still say I like that. That's beside the point. But that's going to conclude for this year. Thank you so much for joining me this year in 2025 in general. I know a lot of people are going to be doing their end of the year stuff and they're going to talk to you about their favorite games. And obviously, as with every year for me, my Gabe Awards are all mostly Nintendo games. I try to expand my horizons as much as I can, but let's be real. This is the first year of the Switch 2. Most of my money is going to go into Switch 2 games. But also, I feel like I did a pretty good amount of variety this year. Like, I expanded some horizons pretty well, I feel. I'm very happy with most of the games that I played this year. I have very little duds in my library. But yeah, I'm not going to talk to you about Nintendo Switch Welcome Tour. I don't want to tell you about that game. I don't want to talk to you about Dragon Drive. But anyways, that's going to conclude today's stream. Thank you once again for watching. I will see you next year. We're going to be doing, I believe, Deltarune, Chapter 3, as the first stream of the year. And then beyond that, you'll just have to play it by ear. So, stay tuned.